While tidying the room, I stumbled upon the phone Shenwan had locked away for 10 years. When I unlocked it, the wallpaper turned out to be my sister, the heartfelt confession in the notes that moved me to tears. The woman's name was also my sister. Suddenly, I understood why the flowers that day had wilted, because it's second-hand. The moment I scrolled to the end of the memo, everything went black as I was transported back to my 18th year. Shenwan in his blue and white school uniform was plotting a confession with his buddies when he casually remarked, "No big deal if I fail, there's always Bai Shuiwei as backup." Later, he came to me holding wilted flowers. After his confession, I took a step back and humiliated him publicly. Not even a dog would date you. 1. I found Shenwan decade-old phone in the storage room. He forgot the password and got locked out for 80,000 hours after multiple failed attempts. It contained countless precious moments from our relationship, so I went out of my way to buy a wide port charger. By the time we finished cleaning, the phone had fully charged. The screen shows I can try the password again in 4 hours. I just lay down scrolling through my phone for a while. 4 hours later, I opened that old phone and instinctively typed in my birthdate. After this phone got locked, Shenwan set all passwords to the same combination, my birthday. The same day he confessed his love to me when I turned 18. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. I'd already entered all 6 digits. Just as I thought my phone would lock again, leaving me frantic with frustration, it unlocked. Password correct. The first thing that caught my eye was a photo of my sister, my screensaver. It's her. I bolted upright in bed. There's an unsettling sense of absurdity. The password. It actually worked. So he didn't forget the password, he locked the phone on purpose. I remember this phone held our intimate photos and sweet conversations, but right now, there's nothing left of me. The album is filled with my sister, her back view, her profile, when she went to dance practice, when she headed to the cafeteria, a chaotic mess of messages. Shenwan chat history with my sister was disturbingly intimate and flirtatious. The timestamps showed Shenwan was with me during those exchanges. They discussed me shamelessly, lacing their conversation with suggestive remarks. In the end, my sister said she'd met someone and deleted Shenwan. The chat window flooded with paragraphs of green text, every word dripped with profound affection. The date matched exactly when Shenwan phone got locked for 80,000 hours, so it was because my sister had someone else she liked, deleted him, and that's why he locked his phone himself. It suddenly occurred to me that my sister got divorced yesterday. That same night, Shenwan came home wasted and threw up everywhere. That's why I was cleaning today and found this phone in the storage room. So Shenwan has always been in love with my sister, from high school until now. Then what am I to him? My chest tightened painfully, breath came in ragged gasps as my whole body trembled. I absent-mindedly opened my phone's memo app. Pinned at the top was a draft love confession. My hands trembled as I tapped to open it. Every single word matched exactly what Shenwan had said when confessing to me. Oh no, there's something different. The name he confessed to in the memo, it's Bai Shuqi, and I am Bai Shuiwei. It suddenly occurred to me that when Shenwan confessed to me, the flowers were already wilted. Turns out, it was second-hand. All these years have been nothing but an elaborate lie. I suddenly found it hard to breathe, then everything went black as I passed out, too. When I came to, I realized I'd been transported back to that early winter when I was 17. Withered leaves rustled underfoot while classroom recitations echoed through the air. I rushed to the restroom to splash cold water on my face, trying to clear my head. In my rush, I didn't check the sign and accidentally walked into the men's restroom. Of all times, someone walked in right then. I had no choice but to hide in a stall, my heart pounding like a drum. Bro. You're really going to confess to the campus belle? She's got a ton of admirers. Then, I heard that all too familiar voice. TCH, who's confessing here, me or you? If I'm not chickening out, why should you? It was Shenwan. His lazy drawl carried through. Who cares if we fail? There's always Bai Shuiwei as backup anyway. His brother burst into laughter immediately. That's so you. If you can't date the campus belle, her sister's an option too, lol. But weirdly enough, Bai Shuiwei and the campus belle are twins yet polar opposites, like some genetic mutation happened. Shenwan scoffed. How could some country mutt compare to a city swan? Having her fancy me is rather bothersome, but she's obedient, handy to have around. He bragged with particular smugness. Homework, cafeteria lines, buying drinks, child's play. What I love most is teasing her on purpose. Just an extra glance or two, A few more words. And she blushes and stammers, absolutely priceless. Shen Wangjin burst into laughter, dripping with smugness. It grated on my ears like nails on a chalkboard, my hand clenched into a tight fist by my side. Only when their voices faded into the distance did I emerge from the cubicle. Head down, I scurried back to the classroom. The bell rang right on time. Bai Shuqi walked in and sat beside me, scooting her chair away like I had the plague. I couldn't help stealing a few glances at her. Bai Shuqi and I are truly worlds apart. My mother gave birth to twins back then, but she had limited energy and my father had financial constraints, so after discussing with the family, they decided to raise Bai Shuqi themselves while my grandparents took care of me. That's how I ended up being taken to the countryside by my grandparents after turning 1 month old. Meanwhile, Bai Shuqi stayed in the city. I grew up in the countryside on formula and rice cereal. Bai Shuqi was breastfed and had baby food in my mother's arms. At 3 or 4 years old, I played in the mud every day until I was sunburned dark. By age 3 or 4, Bai Shuqi already had an extravagant collection of princess dresses, always pristine and delicate. The stark contrast, compounded by favoritism, left me stranded in the countryside indefinitely. My mother never cared for me. Even my grandmother would say, "Your mother abandoned you." It wasn't until high school, when facing the crucial milestone of college entrance exams, that my grandparents finally had to send me to the city. When I first arrived at the new home, I actually liked it and didn't feel inferior at all. But over the years, I inevitably picked up my grandmother's shrewdness and frugality. This really annoyed my mother. She kept belittling me, putting me down, and constantly comparing me to Bai Shuqi. Bai Shuqi loved dancing, so our parents scrimped and saved to enroll her in dance classes. She made them proud by winning several competitions. She carried herself with the grace of a swan, while I was just an awkward duckling who didn't belong on stage. In just 1 year, my parents' constant criticism and being constantly compared to Bai Shuqi made me insecure and overly sensitive. Then fate played its cruel joke. Bai Shuqi and I got assigned to the same class after the sophomore year stream selection. Naturally, we ended up as desk mates. From that moment on, my world lost all its color. I was too naive back then, always getting trapped in my own thoughts. But now, I'm Bai Shuiwei from over a decade later. The fault was never mine, never was. 3. Bai Shuqi noticed me staring and shot me a haughty glance. "What do you want?" I asked her. "Do you know Shen Wangjin has a crush on you?" Tossing her chin, Bai Shuqi replied, "So many people like me. Why should that surprise anyone?" So she knew. Shen Wangjin was somewhat of a minor celebrity at school. There are 2 types of people everyone knows in school. The first are the academic superstars, the second are the notorious troublemakers. Shen Wangjin was the latter. Back when I had a crush on Shen Wangjin, I'd secretly scribble his name in my notebook. Bai Shuqi caught me doing it. She even asked me how I could possibly like a troublemaker like Shen Wangjin. Of course I never told her the reason, but she knew I had feelings for Shen Wangjin. Yet when Shen Wangjin got rejected by her and started dating me instead, she didn't say a word, not even a heads up. Even after we got together, she kept flirting with Shen Wangjin. What was going through her mind at that moment? Enjoying the show, secretly pleased, taking malicious delight. I let out a slow breath, suppressing the urge to confront her. Bai Shuqi suddenly remembered something and said in a condescending tone, "Oh, I forgot, you had a crush on him." Her voice carried drawing sideways glances from nearby classmates. I replied calmly, "You're mistaken. There's no one I like. Senior year is crazy busy. Who's got time for dating? We're not like you art students. We'd rather grind through extra problems than waste time like that." Bai Shuqi snapped. "What exactly do you mean by that, Bai Shuiwei?" I glanced out the window. "Teacher's coming." Bai Shuqi had no choice but to swallow her words, shooting me a furious glare. Class would end right at noon, as usual. Shen Wangjin would come to our classroom, making me queue for his lunch while he chatted up Bai Shuqi with small gifts. Right on cue, Shen Wangjin was already leaning against our classroom doorframe when the bell rang. After the teacher left, he strolled in with one hand in his pocket, moving with lazy grace. He rapped his knuckles twice on my desk. Knock knock, wearing a half smirk. "Bai Shuiwei, the canteen just added a new dish. Word is, it's amazing." Translation: he wanted me to grab him a meal. The cafeteria food runs out fast. By the time I get there, it's just soup left with no meat dishes. Shen Wangjin and I have completely different tastes. After queuing to get his food, my favorite dishes are always gone. I even had to deliver his meal before going back to eat myself, then wash his dishes afterward. Looking back, I must have been out of my mind, fell head over heels for him over such a trivial matter. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I didn't even spare Shen Wangjin a glance. His composure was slipping, but he held back because Bai Shuqi was present. Surprisingly, Bai Shuqi spoke up first. Bai Shuiwei, grab me a meal to the dorm, I need to talk with Shen Wangjin now. Bossy and condescending, their gaze held a clear challenge. She's using Shen Wangjin to make me jealous. I stood up with a hollow smile. Not happening. With that, I walked right past her and headed to the cafeteria. Just then, Shen Wangjin called out to me in a lecturing tone, Bai Shuiwei, as a younger sister, you should listen to your elder sister. I couldn't help rolling my eyes. Seriously, you all want me to bring back food? I glared at Shen Wangjin. Do I look like your mom? Then turned to Bai Shuqi, or yours. Someone else in the classroom burst out laughing. Their faces instantly darkened. I walked away without a trace, leaving nothing behind. For Shen Wangjin still wouldn't give up, while I was in the cafeteria. His lackey came with a message. Brother Wang says he's waiting for you in the classroom. Don't keep him waiting too long. There was a hint of threat in his tone. I completely ignored him. Who does Shen Wangjin think he is? After enjoying some delicious braised pork and spare ribs, I grabbed an ice-cold drink and headed to the dorm for a satisfying nap. Senior year is intense with crushing pressure. Most students spend lunch breaks buried in textbooks or grinding through practice tests, constantly on edge. I used to be just like that, but today, I just feel like cutting loose. If Shen Wangjin wants to wait, let him wait. The moment I entered the dorm, I spotted Bai Shuqi there. She wasn't even my roommate. She gave me a once-over and demanded, where's my food? It's sobering how many functionally impaired people pass for normal just because they can feed themselves. Bai Shuqi seemed to finally realize. You didn't bring me food. She sprang up and yelled at me. Bai Shuiwei, didn't you hear me asking you to bring food? What am I supposed to eat now? Are you doing this on purpose? I shouted even louder. I told you I wouldn't. Are you deaf or just stupid? What's wrong with you? Can't you understand plain words? At school, Bai Shuqi and I barely talked. Even when we were desk mates, she can be the campus belle. I'll just be my invisible self. When she occasionally asks for favors, I'd grudgingly do them despite my reluctance. Today she was clearly angry and trying to put me in my place, but never expected me to break character. Bai Shuqi froze for 2 seconds. You've got some nerve, daring to yell at me. You wanna bet I'll go tell mom and dad and have them teach you a lesson? I shrugged indifferently. Go ahead, crybaby, you. Bai Shuqi pointed at me, speechless for a long moment. You'll pay for this. She shot me a furious glare and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I can already picture how she'll twist the story when she goes home this weekend. Mom and dad will undoubtedly take her side and punish me. But I'm no longer that Bai Shuiwei who desperately craved my parents' approval. I won't take this lying down. 5. On Friday when I got home, Bai Shuqi dramatically exaggerated to our parents about me forgetting to bring her food. The moment I stepped through the door, the TV remote came flying at me and smacked right into my forehead. Ah! The sharp pain made me cry out. My mother pointed at me, yelling, you ungrateful brat, how heartless can you be? Was it too much to ask to bring your sister some food? She's your own sister. How could you let her starve all afternoon? I see right through you. You're just jealous your sister can dance. You deliberately starved her, trying to make her sick, so young yet so vicious. We never should have taken you in. You're nothing but a heartless monster. My father's face darkened. Being raised away from us has spoiled your temperament. Starting today, your weekly allowance is cut in half. It'll be restored when you've learned your lesson. Now, apologize to your sister. Bai Shuqi watched me smugly, waiting for me to bow my head in apology. I lowered my hand from my forehead. I won't apologize. Go ahead and kill me if you want. The moment I finished speaking, my mother rushed over and slapped me across the face. She put her whole body into that swing. The impact sent me crashing into the nearby shoe cabinet, but I stubbornly refused to shed a single tear. I saw this coming long before returning home. The harsher they are now, the more chaotic this house will become later. With my mom still yelling at me, I dashed straight to my bedroom and locked the door. Pulling out the phone hidden under my pillow, I video called my grandma in tears. I cut ties with grandma just to please my mom. She wasn't perfect, but grandma raised me with her own hands. I was always her favorite. When the video call connected, I immediately showed the slap mark on my face and the bruise on my forehead. "Grandma, save me, Mom and Dad are trying to beat me to death," sobbing uncontrollably. I watched as Grandma on the video call immediately dropped what she was doing and rushed over with Grandpa in tow. "Don't be scared, sweetheart, Grandma's coming to set things right. I'm still breathing. How dare they treat my granddaughter this way?" 4 hours later, Grandma and Grandpa came pounding on our door, ready for battle. 6. By then it was already dark. My parents and Baishuchi were having dinner in the dining room, all cheerful and harmonious. As for me hiding in the bedroom, it was as if I didn't exist. My father went to open the door, but before he could utter a word, Grandpa slapped him across the face. "I sent Sarya here to live comfortably, not for you people to mistreat her. How dare you hit such a little girl? You don't deserve to be parents." Grandma charged straight at my mother, clapped her hands together, then collapsed to the ground wailing, "Oh my poor Sarya, such a well-behaved child, and you've beaten her face swollen. I raised this child through thick and thin, treasured her like the apple of my eye, and this is how you treat her under your roof. We're from the same mother. How could any mom be this unfair?" My mom fired back, "And you're not biased, they're both your granddaughters. When have you ever treated Shuchi kindly?" Grandma ignored her and kept wailing. Neighbors began opening their doors, peering out curiously. Seeing this, my father quickly covered the slap mark on his face and rushed to close the door. The living room was in chaos for quite some time, Grandma wailing, Mom hurling insults, neither willing to back down. Grandpa and my dad were the first to calm down, each pulling their own wife aside to pacify them. Only then did the living room gradually quiet down. At that moment, I timidly opened the door and stepped out. "Grandma, Grandpa." The moment Grandma saw me, she immediately pulled me into a heartbroken embrace. "My dear you, why didn't you tell Grandma when you were wronged? That mother of yours must have threatened you to keep quiet, didn't she? Granny always knew she was no good. She bought that house but wouldn't let your grandpa and me move in, then turned you against me. It breaks my heart." My mother tried to argue back, but my father stopped her. Grandpa waved his hand dismissively. "Sarya's college entrance exams are coming up. Do you even understand how crucial this is as parents? Here's what we'll do, your grandma and I are staying, otherwise you'll just take your frustrations out on Sarya again when we're gone. Since you don't treat her well, we'll take her back after the college entrance exams." My mother's voice turned shrill. "You're planning to stay here?" Grandma raised her voice even louder. "Can't I live in my own son's house?" Grandpa shot my father a meaningful look. My father could only nod in agreement. That night, Grandma slept in my room with me. Stroking my face tenderly, she said, I know you don't like me, what you really want is your mother's approval, but I raised you myself, my dear, how could I ever bear to see you wronged?" My nose tingled with emotion as I hugged Grandma. "I love you, Grandma. In my past life, Mom always favored Baishuchi, indulging her every whim while constantly putting me down. For the longest time, I was overly sensitive, anxious, and plagued by insomnia. It took me years to finally accept the painful truth: my mother simply didn't love me. By the time I wanted to go back to Grandma, it was already too late. "I'm sorry, Grandma, I shouldn't have cut contact with you. So what if she's difficult and flawed? Her loving me is enough." 7. The grandparents' arrival cast an eerie atmosphere over the household. My parents dote on Baishuchi while my grandparents fuss over me, as if they're competing to outdo each other. It's so bizarre it doesn't even feel like a real family. I don't understand why I ended up with such a strange family. When I returned to school on the weekend, Baishuchi must have been told not to speak to me. She didn't say a single word. I was quite content with the situation. Little did I expect Shin Wangjin to intercept me right before evening study session. In the dimly lit alley, he squarely blocked my path. His gaze rested upon me with palpable intensity. "Baishuiwa, I don't tolerate disobedience. Go apologize to Shuchi this instant." It all became clear to me. Baishuchi had gone to complain to him. My eyes lit up with mischief. "You like my sister, don't you? I could help you win her over. See, she even initiated conversation with you today." Shin Wangjin narrowed his eyes suspiciously. "What are you getting at?" I cut straight to the chase. "My sister hates me. The more I annoy her, the more she'll want to get back at me. Once she knows I have feelings for you, she'll come after you. And then," I deliberately paused for effect. Shin Wangjin pressed, "And then what?" "Then you pretend to like me back. She'll move heaven and earth to win you over." Shin Wangjin was tempted, but hesitated when he saw me. I knew he looked down on me. "My sister's the campus belle. Plenty of guys like her, but the one she chases after, deal." Shenwangjin agreed without hesitation. A smirk curled at the corner of my lips. Let the fun games begin. 8. Weekend evening study sessions were loosely supervised, allowing Shenwangjin to waltz right into our classroom. Day students weren't required for evening study, leaving empty seats where Baishuchi sat deliberately far from me. Shenwangjin took the empty seat right behind me. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Baishuchi's startled look. Suddenly, Shenwangjin poked my back with his pen. When I turned around, he handed me a note with a playful grin. It's blank. He just wanted to get Baishuchi's attention with this. Playing along, I pretended to write a reply before passing it to him. Baishuchi was visibly furious, storming over to sit down and immediately reaching to snatch the note. I swiftly tucked the note into my pocket and buried myself in homework, pretending not to see her. Behind us, Shenwangjin let out a flirtatious whistle at Baishuchi. Baishuchi flushed with equal parts anger and embarrassment. When evening study ended, I deliberately took my time packing up, waiting for them to leave first, then quietly followed behind. On the way back to the dorm, Baishuchi blocked Shenwangjin's path and confronted him angrily. What were you two passing notes about? Didn't you promise you'd make Baishui apologize to me? Shenwangjin crossed his arms. Sorry about that, but I suddenly think Baishui is kinda cute. She's always had a thing for me and listens to everything I say, so I thought I'd give it a shot with her. Baishuchi's voice turned shrill. You like her? Shenwangjin nodded. Kind of. Baishuchi stared at him in disbelief. But I thought you liked me. Shenwangjin raised an eyebrow. Did I ever say that? The room fell into sudden silence. I was thoroughly enjoying the drama from the back. Finally, Baishuchi gritted his teeth and said, You can't like Baishui, why not? Shenwangjin feigned confusion. Because I love you. Dump Baishui and be with me. I didn't even need to look to know Shenwangjin was thrilled. He feigned hesitation. Baishui did so much to pursue me. I'm genuinely touched. But you? Baishuchi was completely led along. Fine, I'll chase you too. Just you wait. Shenwangjin's smile never faded even after Baishuchi had left. It was obvious he was absolutely thrilled. Let's hope he stays this happy later on. 9. The very next day, Baishuchi started making overtures to Shenwangjin. Without any prompting from me, Shenwangjin was already playing hard to get. Every time Baishuchi showed affection, he'd pretend to be intimate with me while stringing her along. When Baishuchi got angry, he'd immediately go sweet-talk her. This scene was just like their chat history back then. While they were fooling around, I buried myself in practice problems. In my past life, I graduated from teachers' college and became a high school teacher. These concepts were child's play to me. But just to be safe, I'd better grind through more practice questions. This time, I don't want to settle for just being a high school teacher. Soon, rumors spread across campus about the school beauty chasing after Shenwangjin, a rare PE class under even rarer sunshine. I was reading on the lawn, basking in the sunlight with my back to the light. Just then, someone sat down behind us and started chatting away. Told you brother Wong's got mad charm, even the campus queen's throwing herself at him now. Campus queen my foot, she's just some dancer who won a few awards. Not even close to brother Wong's league. Shenwangjin couldn't hide his smug tone. Alright, go easy, girls have delicate egos. You know, Shuchi's been chasing me for quite a while now. It's not right to keep stringing her along. A man should be the one to confess his feelings. Meanwhile, the homeroom teacher had caught wind of the situation and summoned Baishuchi to the office. Baishuchi, even though you're taking the arts track for college entrance, your academic scores still matter greatly. Do you understand? Facing the teacher's stern expression, Baishuchi's face instantly turned pale. I understand, teacher. The homeroom teacher didn't spell it out directly. After emphasizing the importance of the college entrance exams, she let Baishuchi leave. By the time I returned from the playground, I'd already heard Shenwangjin bragging with his buddies. The moment Baishuchi stepped out, I pulled her aside. The moment she recognized me, she jerked her hand away in disgust. Baishui, was it you who snitched? Don't think just because grandma and grandpa are here, you're untouchable. That's my parents' house, we can kick them out anytime. And that goes for you too. Me, when my parents bought that house, they fell short on funds and had to borrow a significant amount from my grandparents. Around that same time, after hearing Baishuchi attended dance classes, my grandparents insisted on enrolling me in an extracurricular program I'd enjoy too. They believed whatever Baishuchi had, I should have as well. Even though the countryside location made commuting to classes inconvenient, but because they bought this house, They couldn't afford to sign me up for extracurricular classes anymore. The property deed is under Mom and Dad's names, but half the payment came from Grandpa and Grandma, so legally, Mom and Dad have no right to kick out Grandpa, Grandma, or me, unless they want to face public shaming. I brought you here to tell you, we've all been scammed by Shenwan Jin. Bai Shuqi froze for a moment. What do you mean? Shenwan Jin told me he likes you, but gave me the chance to pursue him. Then he told you he likes me and encouraged you to chase him. He's playing both sides, trying to keep two relationships going at once. Bai Shuqi always prided himself on his integrity. Being deceived and toyed with was absolutely unacceptable to him. The pity is she's too foolish to realize her own stupidity. I just heard, he's going to confess to you in a couple days. With that, I turned and walked away. No advice was needed. Bai Shuqi had a knack for hitting where it hurt most. Back when I first came to the city, I couldn't hold my head up in front of her. I couldn't understand why she treated me with such malice, though we shared the same blood. Eventually I realized, since our parents disliked me, she simply followed their lead, but now, it doesn't matter anymore, because I don't like them anymore either. 10. Soon, time reached that pivotal moment in my memory, my birthday. It was also Bai Shuqi's birthday. The wind was fierce that day, and the teachers were away at a meeting. Shenwan Jin prepared flowers, balloons, and gifts, waiting beneath the girls' dormitory to confess his feelings to Bai Shuqi. He sent someone to call Bai Shuqi downstairs. Bai Shuqi spotted Shenwan Jin from her dorm balcony but hesitated to come down. She sent a messenger saying, "Shuqi's upset. She says last time when you were called to the office, she was left alone to face it. She thinks you lack responsibility. Could you let her know I wasn't aware she'd been called to the office? I was just..." Shenwan Jin's words trailed off as the person turned and walked away. To prove his accountability, he stood downstairs for a full hour. A crowd had gathered to watch the scene. Shenwan Jin shouted Bai Shuqi's name like a romance novel protagonist, declaring the confession he drafted in his notes. Classmate Bai Shuqi, I was smitten from the very first glance. Yet deepest affection breeds timidity. Hidden in the crowd, I listened as he finished pouring out this soul-stirring confession. The onlooking students spontaneously applauded, cheered, and urged Bai Shuqi to come down immediately. At last, Bai Shuqi descended with deliberate grace, her expression dripping with arrogance. "Shenwan Jin, you really overestimate yourself. I was just humoring you for fun. How could you take it seriously, someone like you? I wouldn't take you even if you were free. Terrible grades, worse character. No wonder your parents divorced and abandoned you. If I had a son like you, I'd rather be dead." That last sentence struck Shenwan Jin like a knife to the heart. The crowd fell deathly silent. Shenwan Jin's face froze, his expression turning terrifying. "Bai Shuqi, say that again." Bai Shuqi sneered. "I said, your parents are divorced. You're just a parentless little..." Before Bai Shuqi could finish, Shenwan Jin flung the bouquet in her face in fury. "Bai Shuqi," he lunged forward in rage, only to be restrained by others. "Calm down, just calm down." Shenwan Jin absolutely detests any mention of his parents. Right now, he looked ready to tear Bai Shuqi limb from limb. It suddenly dawned on me that he might not be that into Bai Shuqi after all. Maybe the unattainable always seems more desirable. In the end, Shenwan Jin was dragged away against his will, startled. Bai Shuqi hurried back to the dormitory. Only that slightly wilted bouquet remained on the ground, identical to the one he gave me in our past life. 11. In our previous life, Shenwan Jin came to confess to me in the afternoon, but this afternoon, he never showed up. Instead, he got publicly reprimanded for his terrible influence. I figure Shenwan Jin probably won't come looking for me. What a shame. I was looking forward to kicking him while he was down. Today's my and Bai Shuqi's birthday. We got permission to skip evening study and celebrate at home. This time was different. The table held not just Bai Shuqi's favorite strawberry cake, but also my beloved mango cake. Because Bai Shuqi is allergic to mangoes, which cause blisters around their lips, our household had always banned them. Even though I adore mangoes, even though Bai Shuqi has grown up and learned self-control, the ban remained unshaken. In front of the mango cake stood Grandma and Grandpa. Their faces crinkled with joyful smiles. Mom looked displeased but kept silent. Her face only lit up when she spotted Shuqi. "Come here, Shuqi. After today, our Shuqi will officially be an adult. We couldn't get time off work on such short notice, so we'll have to postpone your coming-of-age ceremony for now. After your college entrance exams, we'll definitely throw you a proper celebration to make up for it." Bai Shuqi nestled cozily between her parents, hugging them playfully. "Thanks. Mom and Dad, seeing this, Grandma came over and held my hand. We'll throw you a coming-of-age party too, at the grandest hotel in town. I smiled at Grandma and said, yes, thank you, Grandma. 1 dining table, 2 cakes, and 6 people. We were supposed to be the closest family, yet we split into factions, each holding our ground. When it came time to make a wish, I hesitated to blow out the candles. Grandma cautiously asked what was wrong. My gaze shifted between my parents across the table and Baishuchi. One last time, I voiced the question burning in my heart. Mom, Dad, Sis, why do you all hate me so much? Since it's my birthday today, could you please tell me? These were the words I never dared to ask in my past life. It's something I've always known, but wanted to hear them say it to my face. My mother snorted first, but just as she was about to say something nasty, my father cleared his throat to stop her. Xiaoya. We've never disliked you. It's just that you weren't with us when you were little. From now on, we'll do our best to make it up to you. My mother pursed her lips. You've always been such an easy child to raise, never giving us trouble, not like your sister, always fussy and crying. Naturally, I ended up paying more attention to her. Now that you're grown up, try to get along with your sister peacefully. Whatever she has, you'll have too. Baishuchi spoke with brutal honesty. I always thought I was their only daughter. How was I supposed to know we're twins? Suddenly there's a sister popping up to steal Mom and Dad's affection. Who could handle that? I watched them with a bitter smile. They're avoiding the issue, or rather, running away from that fateful mistake. I closed my eyes and made my wish. My wish is to never see father, mother, or sister ever again. I opened my eyes and blew out the candle. Their faces instantly darkened upon hearing this. Baishuiwei. What's your problem? Have we been too lenient with you lately? If it weren't for your grandmother stopping me, do you think I wouldn't have kept you by my side? If you want to blame someone, blame your grandmother. This has nothing to do with me. My father also scolded me. I held back because you're still young. But how could you make such a cruel wish? I deeply regret not teaching you properly when you were a child. Baishuchi pressed her lips together and remained silent. My grandmother tried to speak up for me, but I stopped her. I looked at them and said, wishing your family of 3 nothing but harmony and happiness. If the original decision was wrong, then let's keep being wrong. The deep-seated prejudices in human nature are unchangeable. Since we had classes the next day, Baishuchi and I had to return to school after the birthday celebration. On our way back, Grandma kept hesitating to speak her mind. Just as I reached the school gate, she called out to me with clouded eyes, Xiaoya, it was my mistake to insist on keeping you with me all those years. A child shouldn't grow up without their parents. I went back and hugged her, my voice choking with emotion. Having grandparents is enough. In my past life, I also thought I couldn't live without parents, but in the end, the more you crave something, the less likely you are to have it. Rather than stubbornly chasing what isn't meant to be, it's better to let go. Even if Grandma made countless mistakes back then, but in my eyes, she loved me enough. To me, being loved is enough. 12. After returning to school, Baishuchi and I became practically strangers. With her preparing for the joint entrance exams and buried in practice, she had even less time for me. I kept my head down studying, never expecting Shenwanjin to reappear, and he brought a beautifully fresh bouquet of flowers. It's only been a week since his failed confession to Baishuchi. At first, people just treated him as gossip material after meals, but everyone was too busy with studying and cramming, so they stopped mentioning it within days. The old Shenwanjin would have already exploded and taught every single mockers a lesson, but this time, he actually held out for a whole week. How unusual. Shenwanjin cornered me on the path behind the dormitory. This time he played it smart. No crowds around. He stopped me but remained silent, so I asked, what's the matter? The moment I spoke, Shenwanjin's eyes reddened, as if on the verge of tears. I quickly took 2 steps back. There's something off about him. Shenwanjin spoke slowly. Classmate Baishuiwei, after all these years together, I've fallen for you. Yet the deeper my feelings grow, the more cowardly I become. This confession was different, but it didn't matter. The perfect chance to kick someone when they're down has finally arrived, so I waited patiently for Shenwanjin to finish speaking. When he looked at me with hopeful eyes, I responded coldly, you, not even a dog would date you. Shenwanjin's eyes widened in shock, as if he hadn't expected this reaction from me. Perfect, that felt good. I turned to leave. To my surprise, Shenwanjin called out, shoo shoo. The achingly familiar shoo shoo slipped from his lips, carrying indescribable tenderness. In that instant, I knew, Shinwon-jin and I shared the same secret, we'd been reborn. He only started calling me Shushu after we married. By chance, I ran into Bai Shuchi and her husband, and heard him call her Shushu. At the time, I didn't think much of it since we both share the character Shu in our names, but now I realize Shinwon-jin saw me as nothing more than Bai Shuchi's replacement. How utterly revolting. My expression turned icy. Shinwon-jin stopped me. Shushu, let me explain, there's absolutely nothing between me and Bai Shuchi. We cut all ties after she blocked me, and before she blocked you, we started dating senior year of high school. He locked his phone sophomore year of college, so what about these past 2 years in between? Shinwon-jin said weakly, there's absolutely nothing between us, you have to believe me. It's you I love, why else would I have married you? I scoffed, then why the hell were you drowning your sorrows over her divorce? Shinwon-jin, stop lying to yourself, and spare me your disgusting act. Shinwon-jin persisted, Shushu, I know you're just angry, you loved me so much, how could you bear to leave me? See, my grades were mediocre, my family ordinary, yet you secretly pined for me for years, how could you not love me now? His sheer audacity made me laugh in exasperation. Do you know why I had a crush on you? He looked at me. Because, I mistook you for someone else. Back in freshman year when I first moved to the city, I got lost after taking the wrong bus. I didn't have a cell phone, couldn't remember my parents' numbers, and was completely out of change. I kept waiting at the terminal, hoping some kind-hearted driver would take me back, but the terminal was too remote, with buses coming only once an hour. The sky was growing darker. I started to panic, tears welling up from sheer distress. Just then, a masked teenager in a cap approached me, coughing as he spoke. Hey classmate, need some help? He was wearing the same school uniform as me. I felt like I'd found my lifeline, pouring out the whole story between sobs. Though hoarse from a cold, he still managed to comfort me. Then he hailed me a cab home and even paid the fare. With his hat and mask on, I couldn't make out what he looked like, but I remember that Stitch-themed wallet of his. Later, I saw Shinwon-jin using that wallet to pay. And his build and height matched too, so I thought it was him, and I kept watching him ever since. Gradually, I found myself falling for him. After getting together with Shinwon-jin, a casual conversation made me realize he wasn't the one I thought he was, but by then, I'd already grown fond of him, so I decided to go with the flow. Shinwon-jin listened in disbelief. A wallet, over a damn wallet. Those stores sell hundreds of those wallets daily, and you're hung up on one. I cut him off. It's not about the wallet, it's the person. What a pity. I never knew his name, nor what he looked like. Shinwon-jin, had I not mistaken you for him, I'd never have noticed you, let alone fallen for you. Shinwon-jin stared at me for a long moment before speaking. Are you implying this affection of yours was something I stole? I thought for a moment and shook my head. It doesn't count. Because you didn't know I mistook you for someone else, but this time, I won't fall for you again. You're not worth it. Not worth it at all. My love is timid yet fervent. His love is hypocritical and shameful. After I left, Shinwon-jin stood there alone for what felt like an eternity. In the end, he let out a bitter laugh, so hard that tears streamed down his face. 13. The college entrance exam is approaching fast. I performed pretty well and think I can make it into a top-tier university. During the art school entrance exams, Bai Shuchi carelessly had his USB drive damaged by other candidates, leading to disappointing results that forced him to return for the regular college entrance exam. But he's fallen too far behind in his studies to catch up easily. On the day the college entrance exams ended, she locked herself in her room. Meanwhile, I was preparing to return to the countryside with my grandparents. That's when my mother started trying to convince me to stay. Shuiwa, I was wrong before. I shouldn't have treated you that way. We're family, of course we should live together. My dad chimed in. That's exactly why we bought this 3-bedroom place, one for you and one for Shuchi. I found the whole thing rather ridiculous. By the time we finished cleaning, my phone had charged up. I'll say it again, may your family of 3 live in harmony and happiness. I turned and walked away with my grandparents. At first they tried to persuade me to go back. When they saw I wouldn't budge, they stopped trying. Just before the new semester started, I heard our parents wanted Bai Shuchi to repeat her senior year, but she chose to attend a vocational college instead. Our parents were deeply disappointed and even threatened to disown her if she didn't retake the exams. Bai Shuchi shot back, like how you wanted to disown Bai Shui way back then. They immediately fell silent. When heading to university registration, I shipped my luggage ahead to campus and traveled light. Little did I know everyone had the same idea. In the end, the entire path from the parcel station to the dorms was lined with suitcases. Just as I was racking my brains to find mine, a gentle voice spoke behind me. Hey there, need a hand? The end. Story 2. I've been pursuing Sheryi for 10 years. Only if he marries me before turning 28 can I avoid being erased by the system. But on the wedding day, the female host mistakenly said, "Will you marry me?" instead of, "Will you marry her?" The audience burst into laughter, but Sheryi's eyes turned red as he took the female host's hand and left the wedding. I do. Only then did I realize, Sheryi had always carried an unrequited love for his white moonlight. Now, she has returned. It's all over. Will you marry me? I do. The hall fell silent as Sheryi uttered these words with reddened eyes. He ignored me, turned around, and walked away from the wedding venue holding the hand of the female host in a white dress who bore a 70% resemblance to me. It was supposed to be my wedding, yet I stood by like a spectator, the despair in my eyes almost palpable. It's all over. The system's voice carried a hint of regret. She was Sheryi's first love, who left him to study abroad 10 years ago. 1. Now she has returned. Your mission has failed. The wedding venue was filled with noise, the murmurs of guests, the MC's attempts to maintain order, the furious curses of friends, yet I felt a deathly silence. Everything was over, my mission failed, and I'm going to die too. I'd been strategizing for Sheryi for 10 years. Accompanied him from being a penniless young man to becoming the chairman of the nation's largest listed company, in hard times. I made him stomach-nourishing porridge late at night, picked up his drunk self after business dinners, and shared the same bowl of instant noodles with him. I once thought that companionship was the most enduring confession of love. I once believed I had truly entered Sheryi's heart, but now it seems those 10 years were just a joke. After all, the white moonlight remains the white moonlight. She didn't need to do anything. Just stand there and reach out her hand, and Sheryi would follow her. I'm sorry, host. The system's voice also carried a trace of inexplicable melancholy. The time you can remain in this world is only 3 more days. I took several deep breaths, my chest feeling as heavy as if 2 large stones were pressing down on it. My friend held my hand, gently stroking my back, comforting me not to worry. Ran, it's okay, that scumbag isn't worth your. I shook my head and asked all the guests to leave. After rejecting the comfort of family and friends, I left the wedding venue alone, waving in my spotless white wedding dress to hail a taxi on the road. In the taxi driver's shocked expression, I fought back tears. Driver, take me to Pigeon Beach. Pigeon Beach was where I met Sheryi and also where I accompanied him in starting his business. There stands a shabby little rental house, the place that holds all my beautiful memories. I only have 3 days left. I want to die there. Yes. Perhaps seeing me leave the church in a pure white wedding dress. The driver remained silent for a long time. When the car stopped at Pigeon Beach, I picked up my phone to pay, but the driver waved his hand and refused. No need, young lady, take it easy. As long as you're alive, there's no obstacle you can't overcome. When Sheryi left with his white moonlight, I didn't cry. Amidst the complex gazes of the full hall of guests, I didn't cry, yet the driver's sudden, out of nowhere words of comfort unexpectedly shattered my defenses. After the driver left, I crouched on the ground crying, my heart aching with each throbbing pulse. Yes, there's no hurdle that can't be overcome, but I'm dying. After walking for a long time on the muddy path of Pigeon Beach, I finally found that familiar shabby little building, a 2-story concrete building, room 203. That was the place where Sheryi and I spent our toughest 3 years, silently dragging my wedding dress already stained with mud. I slowly turned the key several times in the rusty iron door of room 203. Perhaps due to years of neglect, the iron door was extremely dilapidated, emitting a harsh creak sound when opened. The door next door opened. A permed auntie stuck her head out and scrutinized me curiously for a long while. She suddenly asked me excitedly, Ran. I forced a smile and nodded with difficulty. The aunt immediately rushed out wearing an apron, grabbed my hand, and said warmly with a smile, Do you still remember me? I'm Auntie Lou, when you still lived here. I was your next door neighbor. Of course I remember. Back then, Sheryi and I always came home late from work. Whenever we were too tired to cook, Auntie Lou would drag us to her place for meals, hands on her hips. Aunt Lou was very warm-hearted, pulling me aside to chat about past events. What about that young man? You two should be married by now, right? As Aunt Lou kept talking, she finally noticed my pale complexion, reddened eyes, and the mud-stained white wedding dress. She stood there dumbfounded for a long while before slowly patting my back. "It's alright, girl, there are plenty of good young men in this world, just stay here peacefully, I'll introduce you to someone better than him." I barely held back the tears welling up in my eyes, said goodbye to Aunt Lou, and entered that tiny rented room, a place filled with memories of me and Shiryi. The room was very small, a double bed, a dust-covered table, and a half-human-sized panda plush toy. These were all that Shiryi gave me. Sitting on the bed, I gently stroked the panda plush as tears streamed down my face. "Don't cry, Ran. Ye was wrong, Ran. Don't cry, Ye was wrong." The shabby doll clumsily flickered with light, emitting a mechanical voice. This was my first birthday spent together with Shiryi. I cooked noodles at home, waiting joyfully for Shiryi to return, but he didn't come back all night. The next afternoon, when Shiryi returned, his eyes were red, covered in dust, and he looked utterly exhausted. Perhaps to make it up to me, he gave me this panda plush toy. I was very happy at that time. The panda Shiryi gave me, I really like it, but later I found out, Shirye's white moonlight is called by Ranxiang. The panda was referring to Ran and by Ranxiang, too, rather than the Ran and Gu Ranran's name. That day wasn't just my birthday, it was also the birthday of Shirye's white moonlight. That night, he carried the panda plush all night, trying to airmail it abroad to his white moonlight, but because the plush contained lithium batteries, it couldn't be shipped by air, so Shiryi still didn't succeed. He brought the panda back and threw it to me like trash. The poor panda, treated like garbage, just like my love. That night, I lay on the small bed where I once slept with Shiryi, tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep for a long time. 7 years had passed, yet the bed still carried a faint scent of lemon, Shirye's distinctive fragrance. Once, I was utterly infatuated with this scent, but now, it only makes me feel nauseous. My chat history with Shiryi still stops at last night. Darling, we're getting married tomorrow. I'm so nervous, so nervous. What if I can't sleep? Don't worry, darling, after we're married, you'll manage all the money, and I'll take care of sweeping the floors. Last night, Shiryi was still nervous about our wedding. Today, he chose to abandon me at the wedding, walking away hand in hand with someone else. What's more, Shiryi didn't even glance at me when he left, but thinking about it, it makes sense. He only saw me as a substitute for Shizuka by Ranxiang. Now that the real one has returned, a mere substitute like me can naturally be discarded at will. Right now, Shiryi is probably enjoying a romantic moment under the moonlight with his beloved white moonlight, lost in mutual affection. I thought miserably, yet my eyes remained fixed on the chat box. Through tear-blurred vision, I suddenly saw several lines of text pop up in the chat box. "Gu Ran, where have you gone? Is it just because I didn't marry you, so you're going to disappear and play the suicide card? Is that it? Don't you get it yet? I don't love you at all. I've transferred 3 million to your account, take the money and get lost. If you want to die, then go die." A sharp, stabbing pain pierced through the heart. Shirye's tone was as stiff as when we first met, couldn't even bring themselves to say a simple "I'm sorry." 3 million. I accompanied Shiryi in his entrepreneurial journey for 10 years, witnessing his rise from a penniless, down-and-out youth to a renowned young entrepreneur in the city. The money we earned during that time was far more than just 3 million, and yet, would someone who truly loved ever care about money, then just go die? These dark clouds seemed to loom over my heart, impossible to dispel. But Shiryi, I'm really about to die. Tears welled up uncontrollably again, but I struggled to hold them back. My hand hovered over the typing area of the chat box for a long time, only to realize I had nothing to say to him. In the end, my finger hovered over that red delete friend option. Goodbye, Shiryi, whom I've loved for 10 years. The night was already deep, the cold wind outside seeped through the loosely shut window frame, making me shiver uncontrollably. When Shiryi and I lived here 10 years ago, the windows were always loose, and the room temperature would drop shockingly low every night. Back then, Shiryi would always hold me tightly, pressing close to transfer his warmth to me. During those winter years, though bitterly cold, whenever I was outdoors, I felt as warm and bright as springtime. Now, lying alone in bed, I finally realize the bone-chilling cold. My heart throbs with pain as I lie aimlessly. Perhaps I'll just die like this. As my corpse stiffened and grew cold, Shiryi was embracing his white moonlight in a night of passion, whispering sweet nothings in her ear, just as he once did with me. The phone pressed against my ear suddenly emitted a sound. I opened my phone to see a new friend request flashing on the screen. It wasn't Shiryi. The friend request from the other party was a short line of text. "I'm by Ranxiang. by Ranxiang, Shurye's white moonlight, also the Ranran mentioned by the panda plushie, the woman who truly possessed Shurye's heart. I clicked agree, then scrolled into her social feed. Honestly, I'm quite curious why. Why does this woman who somewhat resembles me get to hold Shurye's entire heart without doing anything? Why did I give my all, only to end up with nothing, even at the cost of my life? What does the white moonlight have that I don't? The first post in the social feed is a 9-square grid of photos. In the frame, Shurye smiles tenderly and affectionately, holding by Ranxiang Xiang tightly as if afraid of losing her again. Shurye was still wearing the suit from our wedding, so that day, after abandoning me, he couldn't wait to take these affectionate photos while embracing his white moonlight. They looked so happy together, as if I had never existed in the first place. The caption beside the photo felt more like a sharp, poison-dipped dagger, brutally piercing my heart. In an instant, blood gushed forth. 10 years apart, you're still you, and I'm still me. P.S. We're getting married in 3 days. Getting married in 3 days. I suddenly felt like laughing. 3 days later would be the day my mission failed and I'd be erased by the system. It was also the day Shurye married his first love. The system's voice suddenly rang out. Disgusting. You could tell there was a hint of resentment even in the system's voice. The system continued speaking. Gu Ranran, I can see that you've tried hard enough these past 10 years. I can give you a choice. Choose how you want to die. Choose how I die. I sighed. Since it's death either way, the manner of dying makes no difference to me. The phone kept ringing. It was a message from Shurye by Ranxiang. She sent me an address. Our wedding is in 3 days. I hope you can come. Looking at those words, I suddenly had an idea. I'm sorry, sister, but Shurye has always liked me. Even if he marries you, he won't be happy. A few more lines of text popped up in the chat box, accompanied by an image. It was a hand wearing a diamond ring. The diamond ring was beautiful, with 2 sculpted butterfly diamonds dancing on a silver band, interwoven in dreamlike hues of blue and red. A tear finally broke free from my eye, trailing down my cheek and landing on the picture of the diamond ring on my phone. This is the diamond ring Shurye bought for me. Do you think it's pretty, sis? Back then, before my sister appeared, Shurye promised me that he would buy this diamond ring for me in the future. By Ranxiang then sent a string of messages. I was at a loss for words, my mind in a daze, as if I had fallen into a gray fog where I couldn't see my own hand in front of me. That diamond ring, I still remember a week ago. Back then, sure Ranxiang hadn't appeared yet, and Shurye hadn't abandoned me. At that time, I was extremely happy, looking forward to the wedding with Shurye. I dragged him to every bridal shop in the city, trying on all the wedding rings. In the end, I chose a ring. The salesperson told us, this wedding ring is called Butterflies in Love with Flowers, inspired by the love story of Liang Shanbua and Zhu Tai, symbolizing couples flying together and lasting forever. I pestered Shurye to buy this diamond ring, but Shurye coldly refused with a stern face. He didn't give me any reason, just frowned and pulled me out, then casually chose another wedding ring with a heavier diamond weight. At that time, I didn't think much about it, only now do I realize. It turns out Shurye didn't dislike butterfly love, he disliked me. 3. Perhaps he is Liang Shanbua, but I was never his Zhu Tai. By Ranxiang is the one. As for me, I am nothing. Perhaps just an insignificant extra. My fingers trembled as I stared at the message in the chat box. By Ranxiang sent another message. Sister, don't blame me either. Shurye doesn't love you, so why bother? Forced affection isn't sweet. Perhaps I actually helped you, sister. She sent a screenshot of the chat. It was a chat history between Shurye and her. In the chat box, Shurye's voice messages were translated into Chinese characters, making my heart bleed as I read them. Beneath that familiar avatar were lines of hurtful words. Darling, you know, it's always been you in my heart. If it weren't for Gu Ranran looking like you, I wouldn't have been with her. During all those days with her, I was thinking of you every single day. These words were like the final straw that broke the camel's back, completely shattering my love. I never imagined that in Shurye's eyes, I was always just a dispensable substitute. By Ranxiang finally sent a message. Heh, sister, you'll come to our wedding in 3 days, right? How ridiculous. How I wish you could see Shurye and me in our happiest moments with your own eyes. I nodded slowly and finally replied to her. I'll come. A plan began forming in my heart. Since the system has given me the chance to choose my own way to die, then I shall die at Shurye's wedding. Let him witness my death at his happiest moment. More devastating than a white moonlight is a dead white moonlight. I want Shurye to never escape the shadow I've cast over his life. I want to die at Shuria's wedding. The cause of death, myocarditis caused by being drenched in rain all night 3 years ago. Lying on the bed, I murmured to the system. At night, a sudden pain shot through my chest, like having an iron shard stuck in the lungs. Each breath brings excruciating pain. This chronic illness of mine has been with me for a long time. That was 3 years ago. That night marked the 7th anniversary of Shuri and me being together. I joyfully ordered Shuri's favorite hot pot and carefully prepared gifts for him, but Shuri never showed up. When I found him, he was completely drunk in a bar, covered in filthy vomit, mumbling syllables I couldn't understand. Only later did I learn, that night, Shuri's first love got a new boyfriend abroad. After hearing the news, Shuri got completely wasted. Never imagining there was still a girl waiting desperately to celebrate their 7th anniversary with him. The rain was pouring heavily, with street water rising up to my calves. To prevent Shuri from catching a cold in the rain, I draped my coat over him and carried him through the floodwaters, taking an entire night to finally make it home. Indeed, Shuri didn't catch a cold that night, but I was the one who developed a fever. The high fever left me delirious. Lying on the sofa weakly calling Shuri's name, at that moment, I longed for him to come over, hold me, bring me warm water and cold medicine, and take me to the hospital. But when he woke up from his drunken stupor and saw me unconscious with a high fever, he merely furrowed his brows, hypocritically asked what was wrong, then hastily threw on his clothes and walked out the door. That day, I lay at home alone with a high fever for the entire day. Meanwhile, Shuri bought a plane ticket abroad to go find his white moonlight. He didn't get to meet Bai Ranxiang. Back then, Bai Ranxiang had hooked up with a wealthy foreigner and was indulging in a life of luxury, completely forgetting about Shuri. It wasn't until evening that Shuri remembered to call and ask how I was doing. How was I doing? I had been drenched in rain all night, running a high fever that wouldn't break, my whole body weak and trembling. At that time, I even felt like I was about to die. I went to the hospital alone. I registered, saw the doctor, bought medicine by myself, and then slowly walked home alone. At the hospital, I met Su Wanbei, who was also left unattended. At that time, Su Wanbei was already a renowned entrepreneur in the city, achieving fame and success at a young age. Compared to Shuri, who was just a small-time employee back then, Su Wanbei shone brilliantly with his excellence. He took me to see a doctor and get examined. That was also the day I was diagnosed with myocarditis. Su Wanbei sent me home. I lay on the sofa feeling utterly miserable, shivering from cold. When Shuri finally returned with a worried expression, trembling in discomfort, I begged Shuri to pour me a glass of water, but Shuri merely glanced indifferently at my medical report before giving me a disdainful look. It's just a minor illness, stop being so dramatic. In the end, he still didn't pour me that glass of water. The system's voice rang in my ears. Alright, we'll do it your way. 3 days later, you will die at Shuri's wedding. The cause of death is myocarditis caused by getting caught in the rain 3 years ago. I forced a smile, revealing an ugly grin. The first day has already passed, only 2 days remain until the day I'm supposed to die. I want to make up for something. I picked up the phone and dialed that number, Su Wanbei's phone. Can you come find me? 4. The other end remained silent for a long time. I could hear heavy breathing, and mixed within it was Su Wanbei's uniquely hoarse voice. What's wrong? His voice was heavy yet gentle, just like when we first met at the hospital. My tears couldn't be held back, breaking through my eyelids and sliding down my cheeks. Gradually, my crying grew louder and louder, from quiet sobs to loud, heart-wrenching wails. Su Wanbei never hung up, just softly repeating on the other end of the line, "Don't cry." Ever since Shuri abandoned me and left with his white moonlight, I've been suppressing my emotions, but now, listening to Su Wanbei's heavy breathing on the other end of the phone, I let down my guard and cried my heart out. I don't even remember how long I cried, until finally, with a hoarse voice, I asked again, Su Wanbei, can you come find me? The other side was completely silent. After about 2 or 3 seconds, Su Wanbei hung up the phone. A heavy weight suddenly pressed down on my heart. Su Wanbei, do you not want to see me anymore either? I suddenly feel like a child abandoned by the world. However, this isn't Su Wanbei's fault. Back then, I chose Shuri over him. Between the two, resolutely abandoning him, it's only natural that he resents me and refuses to see me. The night grew deeper, and the cold crept up my back like clinging maggots. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my heart. I got up and coughed violently several times, the agony as if I had coughed out my very heart. Cough. Cough, cough. I looked at my palm, where a pool of blood I had just coughed up lay. It seems the death method the system promised me has already begun to take effect. I will die from myocarditis at Shurye's wedding. I pulled a tissue from the nightstand and wiped away the bloodstain on my palm, accidentally pressed the panda plushie beside me. Don't cry Ran, Ye was wrong. Don't cry Ran, Ye was wrong. How ridiculous. In the end, the only thing that can accompany me is this panda plush toy. Shurye doesn't want me anymore. Suwonbae doesn't want to see me either. I'm so pitiful. I smiled self-deprecatingly, turned over, and tried hard to fall asleep. In the middle of the night, around 4 or 5 o'clock, the wooden door suddenly creaked, and a low, hoarse voice sounded outside. Gu Ran, open the door. I know you're here. It was Suwonbae's voice. A ray of sunlight suddenly emerged in the darkness, so he was still willing to see me. I opened the door. And Suwonbae's face was right before my eyes. He was wearing a black scarf, his head covered in white snow. The streetlight behind cast a pale yellow halo. Suwonbae's nose was red from the cold, yet he seemed utterly unfazed as he pulled me into a tight embrace. Gu Ran, I'm sorry. I'm late. Not late at all. Feeling the warmth in Suwonbae's embrace, my nose tingled with emotion. My salvation has arrived. At the very least, he redeemed what little remained of my final 2 days. Suwonbae is my only friend, if you could even call it that. The first time I saw him was on that night when I fainted from high fever, while Shurye went abroad to find his white moonlight, when I collapsed on the hospital floor from high fever. The passers-by avoided me as if I were the plague. My mind spun with dizziness. Only able to hear the chaotic murmurs around me. What's going on? Why did she suddenly faint? Stay away from her. Don't get involved. How pitiful. Where are her family members? Her boyfriend? Did they just let her come to the hospital alone? Boyfriend? At that time, Shurye was probably searching for her unattainable love overseas. I closed my eyes in despair, no longer wanting to hear the surrounding gossip. In a daze, I was lifted by a pair of gentle, large hands. It was Suwonbae. Though it was our first meeting, I inexplicably felt a sense of familiarity radiating from this handsome man with thick, dark eyebrows. As I hazily opened my eyes, they met directly with Suwonbae's gaze. He smiled beautifully and mumbled to me, your eyes are very beautiful, Gu Ran. That was the first time I met Suwonbae, yet he knew my name. What's more, the way Suwonbae uttered my name felt incredibly familiar, as if he had said it countless times before. Later, I once asked him how he knew my name at that time, but Suwonbae just looked at me with a faint smile, saying nothing, yet I could clearly see deep, lingering affection in his eyes. That night, Suwonbae took me to register, receive treatment, get medicine, and then sent me home. I could sense his tension from his tightly clenched hands and protruding veins. At the doorstep, Suwonbae suddenly asked me, where's your boyfriend? I was at a loss for words. I shook my head. Shurye went to find his first love. Suwonbae looked into my eyes and after a long pause said, actually, you could consider other people. I understand what he means, but my mission in this world is to conquer Shurye. If I fail, I'll die. I have no other choice. Thinking about it now, perhaps Suwonbae would have been much more suitable for me. From that day on, Suwonbae and I exchanged contact information. I knew he seemed to harbor deep feelings for me, but I couldn't respond to him. I could only treat him as a friend. Through Suwonbae's connections, I helped Shurye establish partnerships with many business contacts. It's fair to say that Suwonbae played a pivotal role in Shurye's transformation from a penniless young man to a billionaire entrepreneur. He helped me unreservedly like that, silently watching as I got together with Shurye. The day before I decided to marry Shurye, I once called Suwonbae to invite him to our wedding. At that time, Suwonbae remained silent for a long while. In the end, he only left these words, Gu Ran, your happiness is enough, and also, your eyes are very beautiful, you should smile, don't cry. After that, Suwonbae left this place and chose to go abroad. I thought he had decided not to see me again, but when I called to meet him once more, he appeared before me again. If time could be rewound, I would choose to be with Suwonbae. To hell with mission failures and system erasures. But fortunately, I still have 2 more days left. 5 waves of pain surged through my chest again, suppressing a cough. I smiled and tightly hugged Suwonbae, who was covered in snow outside the door. Suwonbae, I really wanted to see you. Suwonbae remained silent. He just held me tighter. I felt a sudden warmth against my neck. It was Suwonbae's tears. Suwonbae held me like that, letting me sob my heart out in his arms. smearing snot and tears all over his expensive coat. Only when I finally cried myself exhausted, my voice hoarse, did he gently ruffle my hair and whisper by my ear, Ran, come, I'll take you somewhere. Dazed, I let him carry me into the car, watching as it sped away from Pigeon Beach toward the nearby shoreline. The sea lies right beside Pigeon Beach, less than an hour's drive away. I love the sea deeply, the vast azure ocean and the boundless sky above it. During those years living in Pigeon Beach with Sheree, I told him countless times that I wanted to see the sea. It would have taken just a short hour, but he always brushed me off with various excuses. Sheree said he was busy with work, that he had social obligations, that it was just the sea and nothing special to see. I genuinely believed his nonsense at first, thinking he might just not like the sea, but when I saw Bai Ranxiang's social media post last night, I finally realized. Sheree had actually made a promise with her all along, to see the ocean for the first time in their lives together. It wasn't that Sheree disliked the sea, he simply didn't like me. He just wanted to save that first experience for Bai Ranxiang. The seaside air is fresh, rushing into my lungs, invigorating my spirit immensely. Su Wangbei smiled as he tucked a blue butterfly flower into my hair, pointing at the sun just rising over the sea. Ran, look, every day brings a new sunrise, with fresh sunlight bathing this beach. So, it's just that the sunlight wasn't right for you. Perhaps you could try watching the dawn of the next day. His voice was low, as if hesitating about something. The man who once dominated the business world with maturity and steadiness now fidgeted awkwardly like a teenage boy. I suddenly raised my head and kissed his lips fiercely. But Su Wanbei, I no longer have the chance to choose. I'm going to die, I sighed inwardly, feeling a tearing pain in my chest. I kissed Su Wanbei's lips frantically, even biting his tongue until it bled. If possible, I'd like to sit here quietly with Su Wanbei, watching the sea until the end of time, but I can't. I'm out of time. As the sun set and night fell, Su Wanbei drove me back to the room at Pigeon Beach. He didn't leave that night. I was the one who made him stay. He hugged me tightly like a big fluffy dog, sleeping soundly. The moon hung high above the wall, frost covering the branches. My heart ached with throbbing pain. The system's voice chimed in at just the right moment. Host, tomorrow is Sherye's wedding. If you want to die at his wedding, then it's time to go. I sighed, clutching my throbbing chest. Su Wanye was still holding me tightly. He mumbled something indistinctly under his breath. Ran, don't go, don't leave. I smiled, a somewhat relieved smile. At least someone in this world still cares about me. But I must go. I don't want to die in Su Wangbei's arms, letting him watch as my body slowly turns cold. I hope in his eyes, I'll always be the most beautiful. In a vast expanse of white snow, I left Pigeon Beach. When I arrived at Sherye and Bai Ranxiang's wedding holding a bouquet of white butterfly flowers, the ceremony had already begun. Sherye in a black suit stood beside Bai Ranxiang in a white dress. A perfect match between talented groom and beautiful bride. The two of them looked truly perfect together, but originally, the one who should have been standing at the altar marrying Sherye was me. Now, I feel like an uninvited intruder, surrounded by awkwardness and all sorts of strange glances. A sharp pain shoots through my chest. It's the precursor to another myocarditis attack. I couldn't hold back anymore, covering my mouth as I coughed violently several times. Blood was coughed up into my hand, blooming into one crimson flower after another. On stage, Sherye and Bai Ranxiang smiled with tender happiness, but the atmosphere was abruptly shattered by my sudden coughing. Only then did they notice the figure in the audience, me, also wearing a white wedding dress, but now filthy and stained with mud. Sherye's eyes were clouded with a thick layer of gloom, his thin lips pressed into a straight line, his face frozen in a frosty expression as he gazed at me indifferently. Looking at my pale face, which stood in stark contrast to Bai Ranxiang's heavily made-up appearance on stage, Gu Ran, what exactly do you want? His voice was icy and piercing. In the past, whenever he put on a stern face and spoke to me in this tone, I would carefully comfort him and cater to his every whim, afraid of displeasing him. Perhaps he thought he could still use the same old methods to deal with me. Gu Ran, don't you understand yet? I never loved you. The only reason I'm with you is because you look like her. Sherye walked down from the stage with a cold expression and came to my side. His words cut through my heart like a knife, leaving it bleeding profusely. The surroundings erupted in noise. The guests at Sherye and Shizuka's wedding appeared like a crowd of indifferent spectators, coldly staring at the scene before them. How ridiculous. Even after being abandoned, she still shamelessly chases after him. I've never seen such a brazen woman. Who wouldn't say so? If I were her, I would have killed myself long ago, not wanting to face such humiliation. Harsh words kept reaching my ears, making my heart ache. My heart is throbbing with pain, my vision was filled with dizzying stars, and I nearly collapsed weakly to the ground, yet sure you didn't reach out to steady me, instead sneering coldly, "Gu Ran. Have you even looked at what you've become? I must have been blind back then. How could someone like you ever compare to Ran? I was momentarily speechless, only able to stare helplessly at Shurye's once so familiar face. Once, this face had held my hands, smiling as it told me, "You're the most beautiful girl in the world." Now, he looked at me with demonic disdain, saying, "You're not even fit to compare with Ran. Through the wedding venue's glass, I caught sight of my own reflection. At that moment, I felt a surge of astonishment. The reflection of my face in the glass had somehow become pale and haggard, with purple lips and disheveled hair, looking as weathered as a 40-year-old woman, but I'm only 27. Over these years, to help Shurye rise step by step, I've hardly rested properly and rarely spent money on dressing myself up. Shurye's face was full of disgust. But Shurye, I became like this all for your sake. Once, I was also a flower-like girl. The wedding venue was filled with noise. The groom before me should have been my husband, but now I stand here like a sudden intruder, a beggar at a loss. Host, unfortunately, the death countdown has begun. 1 minute remaining. The system's icy, emotionless voice echoed in my ears. The last minute. I felt as if my heart was being tightly gripped by a hand, about to be crushed at any moment. Bai Ranxiang clung to Shurye's arm, her white dress making her face appear even more radiant and charming, with a coquettish smile playing on her lips. 6. Compared to my haggard appearance, Bai Ranxiang was so beautiful she seemed otherworldly. She grabbed Shurye's arm, feigning coquetry as she persuaded, "Oh, no, it's my fault. I shouldn't have come back to the country, shouldn't have disturbed you and sis." As she spoke, teardrops formed on her face, her pitiful expression designed to tug at heartstrings. Shurye's expression darkened further. He reached out to wipe the tears from Bai Ranxiang's face, then turned to glare coldly at me. "Gu Ran. What exactly do you want? Didn't I already say it? I'll transfer 3 million to your card as compensation." I opened my mouth, wanting to say something. 3 million, but Shurye, do you really think I care? Unexpectedly, Shurye waved his hand impatiently and signaled the security guards to drag me out. They roughly grabbed my dress and pulled my arms, their immense strength leaving several bruises on my skin. As I looked at Shurye, my heart sank to the bottom. "Gu Ran, get out." Shurye's face was full of anger as he yelled at me. He felt so unfamiliar, nothing like the Shurye I remembered. "Weren't you threatening to disappear? Weren't you going to kill yourself?" Shurye continued shouting. My heart felt like it was being split in two by a knife, the pain unbearable. Death countdown. The system's voice sounded. "I'm going to die." 3. Shurye shielded Bai Ranxiang behind him and pushed me out. 2. "Go die already." Shurye roared at me, my heart beat slower and slower, gradually stopping its pulse. 1. Like a butterfly whose life has faded, it stopped fluttering its dazzling wings and fell into a muddy patch of dust. In the last second, I struggled to open my eyes and looked in the direction of Pigeon Beach. I have completely lost hope in Shurye, but I still want to see that person one more time, that man who was like a warm, big dog. I don't know if he'll come. Su Wanbei, if there's another chance, I'll definitely choose you. Gu Ran. I saw a black car stop in front of me. Su Wanbei rushed out of the car with tears streaming down his face, holding me tightly, completely disregarding the pools of blood I was spitting out that stained his expensive coat. He still came. Su Wanbei, it seems he has never let me down. I closed my eyes and took my last breath, lying peacefully in Su Wanbei's arms, asleep like a fairy returning to a warm harbor. For some reason, after my death, my soul didn't immediately dissipate but instead hovered in midair, overlooking everything before me. The system's voice sounded. "Since you're already here, you might as well stay to see the ending." There was a hint of regret in its voice. I nodded, watching the commotion below like a detached spectator. Because of my death, Shurye and Bai Ranxiang's wedding naturally couldn't continue. After the guests had left, Shurye stared blankly at my lifeless body in Su Wanbei's arms, his face turning ashen. He stood frozen for a long time, his lips parting slightly, but ultimately failing to utter a single word. Bai Ranxiang was also terrified by the scene, her legs trembling uncontrollably. She instinctively grabbed Shirye's sleeve, her voice quivering with tears. Yay, but Shirye roughly shook her off. I saw Shirye turn his head and roar at Bai Ranxiang, "Shut up, if you hadn't come back, she wouldn't have died." I just wanted to laugh, a cold laugh. Has Shirye always been like this? The faults are always others, as if he's never done anything wrong. Bai Ranxiang was startled by Shirye's tone. With reddened eyes, she shrank to the side, not daring to utter another word. Shirye slowly walked up to my corpse, reaching out to caress my face, but Su Wangbei shoved him away violently, causing him to stumble. Su Wangbei's eyes were deep red, like a beast protecting its young, growling low, "Get out." Shirye wasn't usually one to have a good temper, but this time, he just stood back up from the mud, dazedly asking, "What happened to her?" Su Wangbei didn't speak, gently carrying me back to the car before turning around and delivering a fierce punch to Shirye's face. The punch was so powerful that it broke Shirye's mouth and knocked out his 2 front teeth. "What's wrong, huh?" Su Wangbei kicked again, sending Shirye sprawling to the ground. "Myocarditis caused by getting caught in the rain, did you know? When she went to the hospital alone and collapsed on the road with high fever, where were you? When she hid alone at Pigeon Beach, crying her heart out, where were you?" Shirye took punch after punch from Su Wangbei like a mindless fool. He didn't resist, just muttered in the mud. "Myocarditis, caught from the rain. Where am I? Where was he?" He was abroad. Trying to reconcile with his unattainable love, he remembered that day when I, pale-faced, begged him if he could pour me a glass of water, pleaded with him to take me to the hospital. Even when he saw my medical records, he still resolutely chose to leave, to go find Bai Ranxiang. It's snowing again, heavy snow, covered the pools of blood I coughed up onto the ground. Su Wangbei paid no more attention to Shirye, driving me away from the wedding venue. Shirye remained lying dazedly on the ground, letting the heavy snow cover his body, his face. His eyes were glazed over, muttering incessantly, "Why didn't you tell me earlier? Had I known, I wouldn't have left." Why? How ridiculous. Some people only regret after they've lost something. Bai Ranxiang stood up from the side, trying to help Shirye up, but Shirye pushed her away like a wild beast, shouting with red eyes, "Get out, it's all your fault." Bai Ranxiang left. In the vast expanse of snow, only Shirye stood like a solitary bird, imprinting the white snow. Shirye went to the hospital where I had my checkup. From the doctor's hands, he received my medical records from that year. "Myocarditis caused by severe cold from prolonged exposure to rain." A line of text pierced Shirye's eyes like a sharp blade. He recalled that night, because he heard Bai Ranxiang had a new boyfriend abroad. He got completely drunk. It was me who braved the heavy rain to bring him home. That very night, I caught a severe cold. 7. As for him, he resolutely went abroad to find Bai Ranxiang. Shirye walked out of the hospital in a daze, with red-rimmed eyes. He tightly clutched the medical report in his hand and took a taxi to Pigeon Beach. Coincidentally, the taxi he hailed was the same driver who had taken me to Pigeon Beach that day. On the way, the bored driver started recounting his experience of picking me up that day. Ah, that young girl looked so pitiful, still wearing her wedding dress, her eyes swollen from crying. What kind of scumbag would abandon such a wonderful young girl? The driver kept chattering the whole way, but Shirye didn't respond a single word. The driver looked puzzled. "Don't you think so, young man, young man? Hey?" He turned around and saw Shirye in the back seat, his face already streaked with tears. Shirye came to Pigeon Beach and knocked on Aunt Lou's door next door, wanting to ask what I had been doing at Pigeon Beach during those 3 days. But Aunt Lou didn't say a word when she saw him, just slammed the door shut with a cold expression. Shirye stood dumbfounded outside the door, hearing Aunt Lou's curse from inside. Scum. He opened the small house we once lived in, that tiny room 203, slept on the little bed we used to share, and stared blankly at the moon outside the window. The panda plushie was held in his arms, yet carried no warmth at all. In the pitch-black night, the panda plushie made a faint sound. "Ran Ran, don't cry. Ye was wrong. Ran Ran, don't cry. Ye was wrong." Shirye's tears streamed down, soaking the stuffed toy. "Goo Ran Ran, why didn't you tell me? Why?" In the dead of night, Shirye went mad. He tore at the stuffed toy like a madman, smashing every object in the room, recklessly unleashing his fury. It seemed this way could alleviate the guilt in his heart. Shirye stayed in the small room we once lived in at Pigeon Beach, going without food or water for a week. Only then did he choose to leave. But the moment he returned to the city, he saw 2 familiar figures, Bai Ranxiang, with Su Wangbei, Bai Ranxiang held Su Wanbei's arm, smiling with utmost tenderness. Once, Bai Ranxiang used to hold his arm like this too. Shurya rushed forward, frantically pulling Bai Ranxiang, demanding to know why she cheated. Ku Barangxiang merely cast him a faint glance and spoke with a cold laugh. Shurya, do you really think I love you? If I loved you, why would I have gone abroad back then? And why would I have fallen in love overseas? Shurya was stunned. Bai Ranxiang continued. Because I don't love you at all. Shurya stood frozen in place, only managing to speak after a long pause. But, you came back to find me. That's because you're rich now. Bai Ranxiang burst into laughter as if she'd heard the funniest joke. Because you've got money, you're no longer that penniless loser you used to be. I don't love you, I love your money. Do you understand? Shurya's eyes turned red. In the end, the only one who ever truly loved him was that silly, naive Gu Ranran, and what Bai Ranxiang loved was merely the money Gu Ranran helped him earn. Bai Ranxiang tightly clung to Su Wanbei's arm beside her. Now, I've found brother Wanbei, he's richer than you, much richer. Do you really think I'd still choose you? Throughout it all, Su Wanbei just stood with folded arms, his expression unreadable as he calmly observed the scene before him. After a moment, he finally spoke. Addressing Shuryi directly in front of Bai Ranxiang, pathetic, isn't it? You abandoned someone who truly loved you, for something that could be bought with money. Bai Ranxiang remained silent, not even a change in her expression, as if the thing Su Wanbei mentioned that could be bought with money wasn't her. Shuryi went mad, his mind was in a daze, eyes bloodshot. He pulled out a dagger from nowhere and suddenly stabbed it into Bai Ranxiang's chest. It's all your fault, it's all because of you. You bitch, if it weren't for you, Ranran wouldn't have died. Die, go to hell with Ranran. The heavy snow fell, mingling with Bai Ranxiang's bright red blood, creating a particularly gruesome scene. My soul hovered in midair. Watching all of this unfold, Bai Ranxiang is also dead. What do you think? The system's voice echoed in my ear. Just feels dull, I replied, because Shuryi still blames others for their own mistakes to this day. Shuryi was arrested for committing murder in public. The court ruled to confiscate all property and sentenced the defendant to life imprisonment. Shurya's remaining life would be spent in the pitch-black darkness of prison. Bai Ranxiang also died. Su Wanbei returned to his company as if nothing had happened. He sold his company, donated all the money to a charity, then moved to Pigeon Beach, living in the room I once occupied. Every morning he'd drive to the seaside to watch the sunrise, never forgetting to bring that panda plush toy. I thought everything was over. But a year later, Su Wanbei went to the prison to visit Shuryi once. I clearly saw that when he entered, he had a bag of pesticide fertilizer in his pocket. When he emerged, I saw a glistening tear streak down Su Wanbei's face. Gazing at the vast sky and pristine snow, he murmured softly, Ranran, I've avenged you. Shurya died in prison. The cause of death was food poisoning. When he died, he was still looking in the direction of Pigeon Beach. Everything is over. I whispered to the system, it's all over, right? Not yet, but the system responded to me like this. Let me show you what you were like 10 years ago, before you accepted the mission to pursue Yi. The system's cold voice rang out. Before I could answer, a dizzying flash of bright light appeared before my eyes. When I opened my eyes again, I found my soul outside the window of the hospital's intensive care unit. Inside the room, a much younger Su Wanbei sat dazed by the hospital bed, holding a photo with a haggard expression. In the photo were teenage versions of me and Su Wanbei. We were embracing each other, gazing at the vast sea before us, laughing freely. When did I ever take a photo with Su Wanbei? Could it be that we knew each other over a decade ago? My gaze skipped past Su Wanbei and landed on the figure lying on the hospital bed. That was clearly me in my younger days. I seemed to remember something. Everything from the past flashed before my eyes like a movie. Do you remember now? The system's voice echoed in my ears. Do you remember why Su Wanbei knew your name the first time he met you? Do you remember why Su Wanbei loved you so inexplicably? I remember now. Su Wanbei and I grew up together. As a child, he pointed to the dazzling butterfly loves flower diamond ring in the display case and told me he would give me one that big when he married me someday. We could have stayed together just like that, naturally getting married, having children, and growing old. But when I was 17, I got into a car accident and fell into a coma. It was during that coma that I accepted the system's mission to win over Shuryi. When I woke up again, I had already forgotten everything from my past. I forgot Su Wanbei, forgot Dai Lianhua, forgot our vows, with only one thought occupying my mind to pursue Shuryi. Yet Su Wanbei still tried his best to pretend to be someone who had never known me, silently accompanying me, watching me hurt myself for Shiyi, watching me get hurt by Shiyi, crying bitterly on Pigeon Beach, then, avenge me, Ran. Open your eyes and look at me. In the hospital room, Su Wanbei, with tears in his eyes, gazed at my unconscious form and whispered, "Your eyes are so beautiful, I long to see them just one more time." Even in this spectral state, I felt my heart shatter with unbearable agony, my soul transformed into a vibrant butterfly, alighting on Su Wanbei's fingertip, dancing softly before him. Gu Ran, the system's voice sounded, "Begin a new conquest mission, conquest target, Su Wanbei." I opened my eyes on the hospital bed, and before me was Su Wanbei, whose gaze was filled with nothing but me. Perhaps before, everything was wrong, but it's okay, this time, let's be together properly. Two colorful butterflies danced outside the window, flying higher and higher, higher and higher. This time, I've finally found my Romeo. Story 2, my boyfriend, UCI, is a complete control freak with an insanely strong and pathological possessiveness. I finally couldn't stand the torture and broke up with him. However, what I waited for wasn't more crazy and coercive means, it was the news of his death. He committed suicide, reincarnated back to the time before I broke up with him. I lowered my eyes and looked at the man who was carefully patting the inside of the ankle cuffs with soft fabric. I raised my foot and stepped hard on his shoulder, curling the corners of my lips provocatively. "Stop dawdling. Are you going to do it or not? If you have the guts, make me unable to get out of bed. Make me unable to go anywhere. Stop with all this useless stuff. 1. Can I eat you? That way, you can stay inside my body forever." When UCI said this, his head was buried in my chest, his scorching breath sprayed above my heart, and my surging blood vessels suddenly constricted for a moment. My scattered consciousness gradually focused, and I pushed him, but I couldn't move him. I groped for a cigarette from beside the pillow and stuffed it into my mouth, but I couldn't find the lighter no matter how hard I tried, and I felt irritated. "Then you'll be pooped out as shit, won't you?" "No, you'll become a part of me and stay with me forever." I bit the filter tip of the cigarette and gave a soft snort. Human cells can all be metabolized into new ones in 7 years. By then, I'll completely disappear and no longer exist. Taking advantage of the moment when he was in a daze, I pushed him away, sat up, and picked up the shirt beside me. It was torn to such an extent that it was completely unrecognizable. The pants were the same. It was a complete mess. I just took out a new pair from the wardrobe, and before I could put them on, I was pressed against the wardrobe door. "I don't want you to disappear." As he spoke, he secretly moved his waist, getting closer and closer. I said coldly, "I still have a social engagement, can't you cancel it?" The ends of his hair rubbed chaotically against the base of my neck, making it itchy and prickly. I dodged, but was immediately held down firmly. "I've checked, the cocktail party later has no real value. Do you really want to talk about business, or do you want to flirt with other men?" Here we go again. I've told him countless times not to investigate my schedule, but he just turns a deaf ear. "Aren't you annoying? Are you annoyed by me?" A wet and warm kiss landed on my shoulder, lingering all the way to the side of my neck, and landed on the throbbing artery, turning into a gentle nibble. "You love me the most, don't you, Chindai? You said that you love me the most and only me." I closed my eyes and was about to lose my temper when I was interrupted by a click. A cluster of blue flames sprang up in front of me. The cigarette was lit, but before I could take a puff, UCI took it away. The thin mist curled up and dispersed along with his soft chuckle. "I didn't say you couldn't go, as long as you carry." Suddenly, a strange foreign object invaded me. I widened my eyes and struggled with gritted teeth after realizing what happened. "Are you crazy?" The cigarette ash fell on my forearm, and my body instinctively shrank. UCI took the opportunity to succeed easily. "As long as you're good, I won't activate it." He blew into my ear. "Don't try to take it out yourself, I have real-time reminders here." 2. UCI broke his promise. Just because I didn't answer his call in time, I clenched my phone tightly, quickened my steps to hide the embarrassing buzzing sound, and pushed open the door of the restroom. Unfortunately, there was an acquaintance inside. "Are you okay?" He looked at me with concern, so the frequency was immediately turned up to the highest level, and my legs went so weak that I almost couldn't stand. The cocktail party was full of nobles and they were chatting and laughing merrily, but I was in the narrow cubicle, dealing with the thing that UCI had forced on me in a way. The man outside the door didn't leave for a long time. People in this circle have seen all kinds of ways of having fun. A whistle was blown in a frivolous and playful tone. Mr. Chin is really in the mood. Why are you using the tricks for male escorts on yourself? The footsteps approached. And then the door panel was knocked. Do you need my help? Push it in, or take it out. On the other end of the phone, I was aggressive. Chin Dai, who is he? What are you doing? Why are you taking it out? Wait, I'm coming to find you. I pressed my forehead against the cold tiles, the shame receded, and a deep weariness welled up. In fact, this kind of weariness started a long time ago, but at this moment, for the first time, I seriously thought about that question. Why did I indulge UCI? Indulge him in depriving me of my freedom, trampling on my dignity, and interfering with my normal social interactions? Was it because he met my aesthetic standards and I fell in love with him at first sight and forcefully took him for myself? Was it because we had been together for too long, from the age of 18 to 28? Was it because I owed him 3 lives? I turned my phone upside down and sat on the toilet seat, quietly smoking a cigarette, after exhaling the last puff of smoke. I sent him a message. UCI, it's over between us. This was the most severe lesson I could think of, and I hoped that he could learn to restrain himself from now on. 3. Afraid that he would imprison me again. When I went to the apartment to get my things, I called 5 bodyguards with me. Unexpectedly, he was very calm. I hadn't seen him for a few days, and the loose white shirt looked a bit empty on him. Maybe he knew I was coming, so he tidied his hair and shaved his beard in advance. Watching my men carry things out one by one, I suddenly asked, did the cigarette ash that fell that day scald you? I knew him too well. I raised my chin to signal 2 bodyguards to stop him from coming forward to hold my hand. Sure enough, he revealed his true nature the next second. Through the 2 bodyguards, his beautiful light-colored eyes stared fixedly at me without blinking, and his eyes were dark. Chin Dai. He pursed his pale thin lips and pulled up a curve that could hardly be called a smile. Do you think people will become ghosts after they die? I didn't say anything, so he continued to talk on his own. I wish I could become a ghost, then I could follow you forever. Wherever you go, I'll go. I don't have to worry all the time about what you're doing and who you're with, whether you have fallen in love with someone else. It was just a bluff. Even if he became a ghost, he would be a cowardly one. He didn't even dare to ask me why I broke up with him, whether I had really fallen in love with someone else. Unfortunately, I could no longer answer him. He fell in the exhaust fumes of the car as I left, and his white shirt was stained with the glow of the evening clouds like a raging fire. Only late at night would I admit that I felt a bit regretful. As for what I regretted, I couldn't tell. A long time later, I was scalded by cigarette ash again. I stared blankly at it as it floated gently to the ground, and somewhere in my heart collapsed. It turned out that the answer was hidden in the ashes. I regretted that I didn't answer him at that time, that I was indeed scalded by the cigarette ash, but not burned. It left a light red mark smaller than a cherry petal, and it didn't hurt at all. But when I searched all over my arm for this cherry petal, I couldn't find it no matter how hard I tried. After all, 7 years had passed. And all the human cells had been replaced. It had been metabolized. UCI had completely disappeared and no longer existed. 8 years after UC's death, I was knocked down by someone who rushed out from the crowd while inspecting a construction site. This time, no one blocked the knife for me, and I fell into a pool of blood without reservation. As my consciousness faded away, there was only one thought in my mind. Would I also become a ghost? But when I opened my eyes again, I saw UCI kneeling halfway beside the bed, carefully patting the inside of the ankle cuffs with soft fabric. 4. Sensing that I wanted to pull away, he suddenly grabbed my ankle tightly, his eyes cold. Do you want to run away? I didn't actually want to run away. I stared blankly at the dark bruise on the corner of his mouth. Without thinking much, I leaned over and kissed it. It was warm. It wasn't a dream. UC's body suddenly tensed up, and then gradually relaxed. Stop pretending. Didn't you hit me? I hit him. The memories came flooding back to 9 years ago, a year before I broke up with him. My family didn't recognize my relationship with UCI and forced me to go on a blind date. It was with a wealthy family of the same social status, in a top-class high-end music restaurant. But UCI ran out and messed everything up. To maintain the relationship between the two families and to give the other party an explanation, I symbolically punched UCI. Chin Dai. It's no use begging me now. Give up this idea as soon as possible. UCI had a gloomy expression. You provoked me first. You said you loved me first, and you can only belong to me. I suddenly laughed. He was taken aback for a moment, and his face became even darker. Is it that funny? What did I do before? I held his head and said sorry, and promised him over and over again that I only loved him. Because of that bit of guilt, I tacitly endured his repeated out-of-line behaviors. The pathological control freak was actually cultivated by me, and then, I discarded him with my own hands. I laughed until tears welled up at the corners of my eyes. I raised my hand to wipe them away, and then traced his face carefully with my eyes again. My gaze moved down inch by inch and landed on his rolling Adam's apple. In the moment when he was distracted, I raised my foot and stepped hard on his shoulder. As I ground my foot, the thin chain on my ankle jingled, shining with golden fragments of light under the warm yellow bedside lamp. In this floating fragment of light, I curled the corners of my lips provocatively. Stop dawdling. Are you going to do it or not? He pressed down on my instep, and I calmly stepped on the center of his leg with my other foot. Come on. Still no reaction. If you really have the ability, try your best to make me unable to get out of bed, make me unable to go anywhere. Stop with all this useless stuff. Now both of my feet were caught, and I was pushed down on the bed. He pressed down on me like a mountain. His eyes were gloomy, with dark tides surging. Chindai, do you know what you're saying? I directly met his gaze, and the smile on my face grew wider. I said that if you leave me any strength at all, I might climb into someone else's bed. I'll call him husband, lie in his arms and smoke the same cigarette after sex, and listen to him blowing smoke rings and thanking you. Thank you for your fulfillment, for giving me to, You see, suppressed anger burst out in a powerful rush, instantly engulfing me. I was like a small boat helplessly bobbing up and down in the turbulent waves, and finally ran aground on the isolated island named UCI along with the waves. Completely exhausted, my hand slipped off his body, and my fingertips gently that hard bulge. It was a knife wound that went through, very close to the heart. It was left by UCI when he stood in front of me to protect me at the age of 18. He always thought the scar was hideous and terrifying and didn't want me to see it. Over time, I almost forgot that he almost lost his life because of me, and his parents who actually lost their lives. In a moment of distraction, UCI pushed aside the hair on my forehead that was damp with sweat, and returned the provocation in the same manner from a superior position. Do you still have any strength left? The gloomy coldness from 2 hours ago was nowhere to be seen, and his eyebrows and eyes were filled with the flamboyant spirit that I missed. He was satisfied, and I really couldn't get out of bed anymore. 3 things. Take my phone and transfer 800 yuan to yourself, carry me to take a shower, change the bed sheets and then go to sleep. UCI directly skipped to the second step. I'm not short of money. As a top trader, he really wasn't. I didn't force him and let him pick me up. Don't you want to know why it's 800 yuan? UCI hesitated. Finally, he put me down and obediently transferred the money to himself. I glanced at his receipt status and curled the corners of my lips. Well, you worked hard tonight. Keep up the good work next time. UCI was stunned for a moment. His knuckles holding the phone suddenly turned white, and he looked at me in disbelief. What do you take me for? Currently, you're still my boyfriend, but starting from today, I'm going to introduce a scoring mechanism. I'll transfer money to you according to your performance, with no upper limit. Today you did manage to make me unable to get out of bed, but you ignored my requests halfway through, so I can only give you this much. My body felt sticky and uncomfortable. Ignoring the rapidly dropping low air pressure around him, I said calmly and urged, shower. He stood still, his black eyes fixed on me. I don't understand. Do you want to break up with me? I don't want to for now, so I hope you can take it seriously. If one day I don't transfer money to you after you've done something, it means we're really over, finished. Do you understand? Looking at his pale face without a trace of blood, I pursed my lips and added in a brisk tone, of course, this isn't a one-way game. The money transferred to you counts as chips. When it reaches a certain amount, you can ask me to do things in return. It's okay to go a bit overboard. His thin lips moved. For example, telling you the lock screen password, taking the initiative to reject other men from getting close, going to the company with your thing in my mouth. UCI interrupted me coldly. I can make you do these things without using chips. He had returned to the gloomy look when he caught me on the blind date. What about getting married? As expected, UC's body shook violently, like a cedar shaking off the snow. Trembling slightly, I gave a soft laugh. As long as there are enough chips, I'll stay with you forever. 5. Forever. I've heard UCI say it countless times, but I've rarely said it myself. In my last life, I lost UCI forever. this time. I can't guarantee that I won't repeat the same mistake a year later, but one thing is very clear. I don't want to regret it anymore. I don't want to toss and turn in the middle of the night, imagining what the outcome would be if I hadn't broken up with him, if I had let him hold my hand. I want to mend his feelings of being worried about gaining and losing, and correct his extreme and suspicious mindset. With the confidence accumulated by the increasing number of chips, I will firmly catch his fall. After ending a meeting, I sent a message to UCI. "What are you doing?" He replied quickly, "Watching the market." He's always well behaved during the trading hours, mainly because he knows my whereabouts and knows that I'm also working seriously. Has the meeting ended? How did it go? As expected, I ignored this question and took a photo of my lower body. The belt cinched my narrow waist, and my long legs wrapped in suit pants were casually crossed. "I suddenly want you. Come to my office." After sending it successfully, I turned my phone upside down, estimating the time from the apartment to the company. I instructed my secretary to move the next schedule forward. When UCI pushed the door open and entered, I was shaking hands warmly with a business partner, our palms tightly overlapping. The expressions of both of us changed. One was surprised, and the other was gloomy. I smiled at the business partner. "It's okay, he's my person, let's continue." UCI walked wordlessly to my side and sat down. A fragrant smell of body wash swept over with the flow of air. He had taken a shower. There was also the cold scent of shaving foam and mouthwash. He put in a lot of effort, but unfortunately, I didn't appreciate it. "UCI, go and wait for me over there." He glanced at the corner I pointed to, and the light in his eyes turned 2 shades colder. "What do you mean?" I showed just the right amount of confusion. "Don't you understand? I'm dealing with business matters." He stared at me in silence for a few seconds, then stood up, and sat in the position I had designated. The scheduled half-hour meeting seriously exceeded the time limit. During this period, UCI had been staring expressionlessly in this direction. I ignored him and continued the conversation enthusiastically, until he looked away for the first time, lowered his head and pressed the screen to light it up. I stood up in a timely manner. "Let's call it a day." As soon as I saw the person off and before I could say anything, I was pressed onto the desk by UCI, having endured it for too long. His actions were much rougher than usual, but this fierce conquest that was bound to happen ended before it even began. UCI lowered his eyes and looked at the hand I had placed on his chest, his expression extremely bad-looking. I smiled indifferently. "Sorry, I have another meeting later. How about we forget it for today? Are you playing with me?" He said it through gritted teeth. He was really angry. "Don't you know best whether I have a meeting or not and how important it is?" He didn't say anything and didn't let me go either. We just remained in a stalemate. After a long time, I hooked my arm around his neck and leaned in. "Come on, I know you made preparations." "Well, give me a kiss then." UCI still didn't move. I wasn't going to spoil him either. "Fine, if you don't want to kiss, that's okay." This time he finally moved. His warm lips covered mine. "I didn't say I wouldn't kiss you." When the kiss became the most passionate, I pushed his shoulder. "It's time for the meeting." The firm chest in front of me was still heaving. UCI took a deep breath and straightened up. Supporting himself on the desk, I picked up my phone, transferred the money to him, and then slowly sat up. He stared at the screen and said in a stiff tone, "Why is there an extra 0 compared to last time?" "Because it felt good." 2 hours of intense struggle was not as good as 2 minutes of kissing. The line of UC's jaw tightened, and he stubbornly persisted as if nothing had happened. "Was it not good last time?" "It was okay, but you were very obedient today, so I couldn't help but give you a little more." I turned on the front-facing camera and pressed my lips. Good, there were no marks. And it wouldn't delay the meeting. UCI stood aside and lowered his eyes, taking in all of my actions. My heart stirred, and the hand that was about to put the phone down pressed back again. My fingertips lingered on my lips, slowly rubbing and tracing the seam of my lips, and gently probing inside. Out of the corner of my eye, I clearly saw UC's Adam's apple rolling, his eyes obscure, and a bulge in his suit pants. Based on my understanding of him, he might have thought of 800 different positions on the way here. Now he has only kissed me once, and his desire is far from being satisfied. So what? I had already called a stop. After he couldn't help but take half a step closer, I tilted my head back and pretended to be confused. "Is there something else?" The man's large palm stroked my thigh and hooked onto the belt buckle. "Don't go to the meeting." "Of course you can," I replied quite readily, but my tone turned cold. "However, you have to return the 8,000 yuan to me first." As I spoke, I reached out and grabbed the corner of his phone. I was taken aback for a moment and immediately clenched his grip. Why should you take it back? Because you want to go back on your word and you violated my affirmation of your obedience. Don't you think that a kiss is worth 8,000 yuan? I tugged at it but couldn't pull it away. I hastily hid his hand behind his back. No. Oh. So are we still going to do it or not? I'll go home and wait for you. He really didn't force me anymore. He said he would go home and then he went home. This was the first time that he had consciously restrained himself and taken the initiative to pull away, in order to be with me forever. The places on my body that he had touched were still surging with heat. I pressed the back of my hand against my burning cheek and let out a soft sigh. Since he could succeed for the first time, there would be a second time. Someday, we would surely develop a normal way of getting along as a couple. Right. 6. The alarm clock rang only once before it was turned off. I got out of bed softly and quietly. Then, some sounds of making breakfast came from the kitchen. I stared at the ceiling in a daze for a while. In my previous life, I hated the time from waking up to going out the most. He was like a big dog with separation anxiety, constantly spinning around me and interfering with my every move. Even if we can live to be 80 years old, we only have a little over 50 years left. It's too short. Why do we have to waste time on unimportant people and things? Can't we be together every moment? Chindai, don't go out. Okay, I'll support you. Such conversations happened every day, until he committed suicide and passed away. I, who had always liked to stay in bed, would reflexively throw off the quilt and get out of bed the moment the alarm clock rang, not daring to delay for even a second. I was afraid that when I came to my senses, there would be no warmth of his body on the other side of the bed. I was afraid that his sleepy plea would automatically ring in my mind. I was afraid that my emotions would be filled with the of never having responded to him. The meal is ready. Do you want to sleep for a while longer? My gaze shifted from the ceiling to Yu's face. I shrank a little deeper into the quilt. Just 5 more minutes. In my 36-year life so far, I could be considered to have handled things with ease and made a great impact in my field, but having the initiative in my relationship with Yuci was truly a first. Yuci lay down beside me, and the 5 minutes were extended again and again. My secretary sent the confirmation of today's schedule. When I scrolled to the end, my fingertips stopped. It was a high school alumni reunion. My memory isn't very good, and this thing happened so many years ago that I can't remember exactly what happened. I just remember that after coming back from the alumni reunion, Yuci, as if having an episode, chained me to the head of the bed and tortured me for a day and night. Do you want to go? His chin rested on my shoulder, within my tolerance range. He was both restless and obedient. Yeah, I'm going. Those people are now all influential figures. They're just talking about business in the name of reminiscing about old times. Although I already knew the answer, I still asked him, what about you? Of course, an alumni reunion is a hotbed for cheating and infidelity. I'm going to keep a close eye on you. It wasn't an aggressive interrogation. What a cute possessiveness. I turned around and stroked his face. The bruise had long since disappeared, and I couldn't help but lean in and kiss him again. He has a face so handsome that it makes both gods and men resentful. No matter when I see it, it makes my heart pound. My fingertips suddenly curled, except for that day, and every day after that day. I lowered my eyes. Yeah, keep an eye on me. Just like that. In a moment of distraction, I gave up my original idea of fishing for evidence. There will be plenty of time in the future. There's no need to correct him so strictly. In such an occasion, it might be nice to give him enough a sense of security. Thinking this way, during the whole gathering, I deliberately maintained an appropriate sense of distance, just enough to get the point across, but I still couldn't prevent enthusiastic people from putting their arms around me and getting handsy. I glanced at Yuci. His expression was calm, and he didn't show much reaction. The heart that had been hanging all night finally settled down. It seemed that the training during this period was indeed effective. As the gathering was coming to an end, my childhood friend, who was always late, finally arrived. When he saw me, his eyes lit up and he walked straight towards me. He was the only one among this group of people that I could talk about old times with. He was also the prospective best man. He had been busy with the overseas branch office in the past 2 years, and we hadn't seen each other for quite a long time. Damn it, the plane was late. I'm starving to death. He put his arm around me and walked towards the buffet table. Accompany me to eat something. I showed a bit of genuine smile. What's the hurry? No one's going to rob your food. Just as I picked up the plate, He suddenly changed the subject and lowered his voice. Why are you still with him? I was taken aback for a moment and subconsciously turned my head. You see, I hadn't followed. So he probably hadn't heard. Just have some fun with him. Don't really get yourself involved. I'm not just having fun, I'm quite serious about it. My childhood friend glanced at me and stuffed a large mouthful of pasta into his mouth. I know you feel indebted to him, but your family has given him enough financial support over the years. You've even helped him achieve a class leap. What more do you want? I slowly frowned and was just about to reply when there was a loud crash behind me. You see, I was crouching halfway beside the dessert tower, and in front of him was a pistachio macaron that had been smashed into pieces. The waiter quickly came to deal with it. I instinctively took a step towards him, but my arm was grabbed. You see, this is the result of trying to force yourself into a circle that doesn't belong to you. You've really been abroad for too long. Your meanness has seeped into your bones. I turned cold. Before you open your mouth, go and find out who the big private equity boss your dad is trying to curry favor with is. His expression was blank for a moment, and then his eyes slowly widened. Holy shit, is it him? I ignored him and shook off his hand, walking towards UCI. Are you okay? UCI looked at me, his expression very calm. I didn't hold it steady. Ooh, do you like it? I rarely see you eat desserts. Let the hotel send some to our home. No need. He glanced at my childhood friend not far behind me. Are you done talking? I nodded and took his hand. Let's go home. His palm was astonishingly cold, even when our fingers were intertwined. I couldn't warm it up, so I simply stuffed our hands into the pocket of my coat together. You see, I struggled slightly, just once, and then let me do as I pleased. When I looked up, I caught a glimpse of the gloom that flashed across his face, and an inexplicable sense of unease welled up in my heart. It seemed that there was something I had overlooked, but I had shown my attitude, and I had also clarified what needed to be clarified. What else could be wrong? I shook my head and tugged at him. The gathering was over, and everyone walked towards the parking lot in twos and threes, casting subtle glances in our direction. My relationship with UCI wasn't a secret in the circle, but I had never publicly admitted it. Kiss me. UC's hand curled up. I'll kiss you at home. Humph. A coward who only bluffs with me, right now. Here, kiss me. He still didn't move, but the temperature of our intertwined palms rose, and it was warm in the pocket of my coat. I lowered my voice and brought out the chips. 100,000 yuan. The light in UC's eyes flickered, and he slightly lowered his head and pressed his lips against mine. The magnificent ceiling of the hotel was dazzling. I closed my eyes and responded to him. But he neatly pulled away when I wanted to deepen the kiss. He even pulled his hand back. I had always disliked putting my private life out in the open. Once, someone who was nosy gossiped about it in front of UCI. I neither denied nor confirmed it and fobbed the person off with ambiguous answers, so I thought that UCI must have been quite disappointed, which was why he kept asking me privately over and over again whether I really loved him or not. This intimacy now was a kind of affirmation of our relationship from me. But why does he look? Are you unhappy? No. UCI pursed his lips. But don't do this outside in the future. It's not appropriate. The person who forced me to go to the cocktail party with that thing in me now keeps saying it's not appropriate. I'm too lazy to refute. 7. The car stopped steadily downstairs, but UCI still sat there without moving. UCI, he turned his head, and the cold light of the phone screen shone on his face, casting a shadow under his stern features. On the screen was the record of my transfer to him, and he was calculating. Jindai. UCI turned off the screen and looked at me seriously. How much more do I need to be able to make a request? I was taken aback for a moment, and my tense nerves gradually relaxed. What was this? So he had something he wanted. Our sex life recently had been rather mediocre. He probably wanted to try something more exciting again. I patted the back of the driver's seat, indicating for the driver to get out of the car first. What do you want to play? Taming a pathological control freak like him back to normal had been going quite smoothly. It wouldn't be a bad idea to give him a little punishment. I counted on my fingers for him. 10,000 yuan in the car, 20,000 yuan in the elevator, 100,000 yuan on the top floor, and kissing is free. But you see, I asked, what about forever? I didn't understand the level for forever. He was so eager. I secretly smiled in my heart. Of course, I was also quite eager. While he was asleep, I secretly measured his finger circumference. The customized Cartier couple ring should be almost finished. 2 million yuan. It was exactly the price of the couple rings. After hearing this, you see, I didn't say anything. I leaned over. How much is still lacking? 1,390,000 yuan. His voice was a bit dull, mixed with a little bit of. I pondered for a while, and the word attachment somehow emerged in my heart. It was so strange. Why did I have such a feeling? I tentatively put my arms around his neck and said softly, "It will be very soon. At the current rate, it will reach the amount the month after next." 2 months was enough time for me to design and decorate the proposal venue. The hand around my back slowly tightened, moving along my spine towards the small of my back. He let out a deep hum in response. I was feeling dizzy from his touch and hinted again, "Kissing is free." This time he understood. You see, I skillfully pinched my chin and kissed me. I had drunk a little at the gathering. From the sour gooseberries to the ripe red plums, this kiss gradually became more mellow, and we were reluctant to part, until the clear sound of the belt buckle rang out. UCI froze in his tracks as if waking up from a dream. The intimacy came to an abrupt end, and for a moment, there were only the sounds of our heavy breathing in the dimly lit car. Sorry, I couldn't hold back. Now we were in an awkward situation where both of us were feeling uncomfortable. I rubbed against him. Keep going, it counts as my offer. I had indulged him enough. One more time wouldn't matter much, right? My consciousness soon sank into the surging pleasure. 8. Another month passed. And UCI had gotten used to the reward and evaluation mechanism between us. Occasionally, when I forgot to give him the money, he would even remind me actively. It was really cute. A person who manipulated tens of billions of assets every second would haggle over my few hundred yuan. He also secretly calculated it once a day, as if it were some kind of countdown ceremony. I couldn't help but want to fast forward and see what he would look like when I proposed to him. Would he cry? I had never seen UCI shed tears. He didn't cry when he was stabbed through the chest, nor did he cry when he saw the photos of his parents in the filthy gutter. He was as tense as a kite, on the verge of falling. My heart seemed to be tugged at by the kite string, and a trace of pain welled up. But when I sank into my thoughts and felt it carefully, it seemed to be just my illusion. I couldn't get to the point. After 4 consecutive hours of meetings, my shoulders and neck ached so much that I couldn't move. My assistant arranged a physiotherapy session. After the whole session, I got home much later than usual. UCI was leaning against the sofa, wearing home clothes and focusing intently on the computer. Hearing the sound of the door opening, he closed the screen and stood up. "Do you want some supper? I've cooked some soup." The warm light in the room softened even his sharp side profile. I stared at him in a daze and, somehow, asked, "Aren't you going to ask me why I'm home late?" He turned his head towards me while stirring the soup spoon. "You sent me a message about it." I did send a message, but I only said that I was delayed by something and didn't mention what I was doing. I suppressed the strange feeling in my chest, nodded, and said, "I'll take a shower first. It won't take long." Afraid that the soup would get cold, I started unbuttoning my shirt as I spoke, but halfway through, I suddenly stopped. The old master's hands were quite strong, and there were little red marks on my shoulders and the base of my neck, which were particularly noticeable on my fair skin. My scalp tightened, and I instinctively looked at UCI. He had obviously seen them too. There was no expression on his face. He just stared at my shoulders and then slowly moved his gaze to my face. My neck was uncomfortable, so I went for a massage. I stammered an explanation. It's hard to describe, but when I saw his reaction, I actually felt a sense of relief and, vaguely, some anticipation. I was expecting him to. "Is it better now? Do you need me to help you take a shower?" UCI stood still, and I slowly lowered my hand, feeling at a loss for the first time. "Much better, no need," I heard myself reply. After taking a shower, UCI was already waiting for me with a hairdryer. I sat down and drank the warm soup while he dried my hair. The whole world was filled with the sound of the hairdryer and my swallowing. But for no reason, I felt it was a bit too quiet. Why wasn't he talking? Why wasn't he questioning me? Clearly, we were becoming more and more like a normal couple, but now I was a bit confused about what a normal couple should be like. UCI turned off the hairdryer and placed his hands on my shoulders. With a moderate amount of pressure, I put down the soup bowl, turned around, and directly sat on his lap. "Shall we do it? It's been a long time since we did it on the sofa, to be precise." UCI hadn't taken the initiative for a long time. Every time, I would wriggle my way to his side and, with a thick face, get under the covers. He was only most enthusiastic about receiving money. UC's Adam's apple twitched, and he shook his head. "Your neck is uncomfortable. Let's forget it today." What does my neck being uncomfortable have to do with my butt? I straightened up and started pulling down my pajama pants. If you're tired, just lie down, I can do it myself. My hand was pressed down with an irresistible force. Chindai, I still have some work to deal with. An indescribable emotion surged through my body. I stared at the man beneath me and said in a cold and firm tone, UCI, at this time, the A-share market is closed, and the U.S. stock market hasn't opened yet. What work do you have to do? UCI helped me put my pajama pants back on, leaned in, and kissed me. I do have some work, let's do it tomorrow. His lips were soft. And my heart softened too. Kiss me again. UCI held my face and gave me a serious and deep kiss. You go to sleep first. Most of my resentment disappeared immediately. Okay, then you should go to bed early too. But he didn't come to the room all night. He quietly lifted the quilt beside me just before dawn, created some wrinkles, and then turned around and went into the kitchen. I opened my eyes. Didn't expose his little deception, stared silently at his back as he made breakfast. And pressed the screen to send a message to my secretary. 9. My family has focused on the real industry for several generations and has rarely dabbled in finance. After paying a little attention, I found that it has indeed been quite turbulent recently. UCI holds a large number of shares, and it's difficult for such a huge ship to turn flexibly in the turbulent and narrow strait. So, was UC's abnormality due to too much work pressure? I can't remember such a thing happening in my previous life at all. UCI knew my whereabouts like the back of his hand, but he rarely talked about his own work. He always reported the good news and not the bad, leaving aside those extreme and excessive coercive means. In a sense, he was more like a qualified partner than I was. The driver turned in the direction at the farthest point of the view visible from home and drove onto another road. Finally stopping downstairs at the fund company where UCI worked. I don't understand anything about it, and I don't know if I can share his worries. But even a little bit would be good. Even if I can only help a little bit, it would be worth it. In this precious second life, I hope we can both feel more at ease and that we can be together for a longer time. UCI has resigned, didn't he tell you? The person in charge who received me looked extremely worried. To avoid causing panic among our entrusted clients, the news hasn't been disclosed yet, but the handover has been almost completed in the past 2 days. My ears were bugged, sitting quietly at home waiting for me. After I left, he wordlessly jumped down from the window. My fingertips couldn't stop trembling. And I couldn't type a complete sentence no matter how hard I tried. I desperately adjusted my breathing and finally grabbed the driver's arm with a trembling hand. Hurry, hurry home. I stumbled up the stairs. I entered the password several times but it was incorrect. I took a deep breath, blinked away the tears in my eyes, held my right wrist tightly with my left hand, and pressed the numbers one by one. Halfway through, the door opened. The warm light from the living room spilled over me. And I stood there, not daring to move. UCI was standing barefoot in the hallway. He had probably been woken up by the continuous error messages of the password while taking a nap, and his eyes were still a bit hazy. When his gaze fell on my undisguised panic, he finally woke up completely, and his expression immediately became tense. What happened? I just stood there in a daze. He quickly glanced outside the door. There was no one else. He checked me thoroughly, front and back. I wasn't injured. Then he carefully supported my shoulders. What on earth is going on? My throat was choked up. I bit my lower lip to suppress the sobs, but I couldn't suppress the grievances that I had deliberately avoided for years. UCI. I was scalded by cigarette ash. 10. UCI was stunned for a moment, and his tense expression relaxed a little. Where were you scalded? He didn't notice that several tufts of his hair were sticking up after sleeping. He carefully examined my hands. When he couldn't find any marks, he squatted down. There were no marks on my suit pants either. There definitely wouldn't be any on my arms, but when I pointed at my fair and smooth skin and made up a story, saying it was here, UCI didn't ask a single question. He just squatted there, held my hand, and kissed my forearm. Does it still hurt? I shook my head blankly and then nodded blankly. Somehow, I blurted out, UCI. Did it hurt you at that time? He looked up. At what time? Those people who kidnapped me, when we were running away. Chindai. UCI suddenly interrupted me, and his fingers tightened. Don't mention the past anymore. I wanted to say something more, but he had already stood up, bent down, and picked me up. You look really pale. Stay home and rest today. He put me on the bed and was about to leave when I immediately reached out and grabbed him. I'm going to pour a glass of hot water. I'll be back soon. I held on tightly and wouldn't let go. In a stalemate, I let out a barely audible sigh, lifted the quilt, and lay down beside me. He gently patted my back. Did you have a nightmare on the way here? It wasn't a nightmare, it was our real previous life. Actually, I never really wanted to break up with you. The movement on my back stopped, but I didn't notice it. The fear of losing you completely overwhelmed my mind. I tightly grabbed the corner of his clothes. Even though I knew he wasn't reborn and that he knew nothing, I still couldn't control myself from continuing to speak. Really, I just wanted you to be a bit more restrained because sometimes you were really going too far. But how could you be so heartless? Everyone was congratulating me, saying that I was finally free. Only I knew I was trapped forever. My waist was tightly wrapped around, and I was pulled into his embrace. I know you didn't want to break up with me, and I know. Our chests were pressed together, and UC's voice vibrated, making my scalp tingle. You were trapped. The UCI in front of me clearly couldn't know what I was talking about. I looked up alertly, broke free from his embrace, and pressed him down beneath me with both hands. What are you talking about? UCI, why did you resign? UCI avoided my gaze and answered irrelevantly. How much can you give me for this performance? I was stunned. It took me a long time to realize what he was talking about. What? Don't put the cart before the horse. Aren't you short of this little money? I'm short of the 2 million yuan you promised to give me. Something was wrong. I slowly widened my eyes, feeling as if I had fallen into an ice lake and couldn't stop falling. A cold suspicion gradually emerged. Our expectations for the chips were completely different. I was waiting for him to ask me to be with him forever. And then I would take out the ring I had already prepared and propose to him in return. But he was planning something else, something I absolutely didn't want to see happen. Clearly, our initial goals were the same. When did it start to change? No, I'm going to deduct some. I'm very angry that you resigned without asking me, I said. As I spoke, I picked up the phone he had placed on the bedside table, smoothly entered the top chat window, and my fingertips hovered over the screen. Unable to move any further, I clearly saw that 4 words were added after my note, the last 30,000 yuan. It felt as if all the blood in my body had frozen. Stop making trouble. He snatched the phone away, and my palm suddenly felt empty. My heart felt empty too. I couldn't deceive myself. The meaning was already very clear with his attitude like this. He didn't want to be with me anymore. He wanted to use the chips to exchange for a way to leave. 11. Our confrontation was interrupted by a phone call. It was from my family, asking me to go back for a family dinner. Bring him too, my father added at the end. I looked at UCI. He had already stood up and was changing his clothes. Do you want to go? My family had always opposed my relationship with UCI. It was really unexpected that he was suddenly mentioned. What was even more unexpected was UC's attitude. He nodded and said, yes, I'll go. He had always resisted going to my home for all these years and even refused to talk about it, because he would remember the time when his family was destroyed at the age of 18. My father's methods of competing for the right of inheritance were quite dirty. After taking office, he removed potential threats, made drastic changes, and offended many people. Those people couldn't touch him, so they kidnapped me instead. It was a kidnapping aimed at revenge and they had no intention of letting me live. I was left in an abandoned factory for 3 days and was accidentally discovered by a couple who collected waste. They had been simple and honest all their lives and couldn't imagine all the complicated schemes. They thought I had strayed into their out of playfulness and called their only son to send me, who was too weak to speak, to the hospital. UCI at the age of 18 was thin, tall, and as tough as a bamboo. I lay on his back and fell asleep peacefully. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a hospital suite. My father scolded me for being troublesome and causing him so much trouble. Later, his tone softened. That family doesn't have many relatives. If the kid can be saved, bring him to our home and arrange a job for him in the future. If he can't be saved, it's all fate. UCI tenaciously survived, transferred to the noble school where I was, and went to the same university as me. Many people said that when we were together, UCI was more like a young master. He always had an indifferent and nonchalant look, while I was always running around him. Only I knew that he had always been holding back a lot of pent-up emotions but had nowhere to release them. The villains had received their due punishment. The living people, although deeply guilty, were also so innocent. After accidentally discovering that he liked men, I finally found a breakthrough. I tried all kinds of ways to seduce him every day, but he remained unmoved. On my 19th birthday, I left the lively party behind and secretly slipped into his small room. taking off all my clothes. Those people who kidnapped me and killed your parents have all gone to hell. You see, I can go to hell too. But before going to hell, can you allow me to stay in the world and love you? Love you the most, only love you. I belong only to you, and you can use me as you like. After all, I share the same blood as my father. Being able to speak of my despicable desires so grandiosely, after that night, I almost crawled into his bed every night. We became more and more in tune, more and more unrestrained. It wasn't a surprise when we were discovered, but in the face of my father's overwhelming anger, I instinctively backed down and hung my head in silence. You see, I was silent for a long time. When I was about to be punished by the family rules, he spoke up. I forced him to do it, he said. Great kindness can be like a great enmity. Clearly, he saved my life, but my father started to resent his existence. It had been 9 years since he left the Chin family until he set foot in it again. 12. The atmosphere at the family dinner was stagnant. When it ended, I was pestered by my father's second wife for a chat. She was really bad at pretending, and her purpose of wanting her son to take advantage was so obvious that I didn't even bother to expose it. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw UCI go upstairs. My heart tightened, and I immediately stood up. The people on both sides tried to stop me again, but I didn't care about maintaining any false dignity. I coldly pushed them away. The soft curses and sarcasm were left behind me, and all I could think about was UCI. Why did UCI take the initiative to go upstairs? The door of the study was slightly ajar. I calmed my breathing and raised my hand. You're really good at hiding your true abilities. My movement froze in midair. Through the crack in the door, a stack of papers was thrown onto the desk with a snap. UCI stood beside the desk and just glanced down at it. Your parents were really clever. They did this just before they died of illness, which actually brought you to the forefront, my father said. In the face of my father's overwhelming hatred, UCI just said calmly, they never thought that much. Fine, let's not talk about them, my father sneered. Let's talk about you, you ungrateful wretch. Xiao Dai has a soft heart. You've been binding him with a sense of guilt for all these years. You forced him to act shamelessly in public. Do you know how many people are laughing at him? How many more decades do you want to waste of his life? What nonsense, what on earth was he talking about? The door creaked open. When my father saw me, his face darkened, and he slapped the table hard. Just in time. Get in here and take a look. He was referring to the medical records of UC's parents, with a rather pessimistic outcome. Perhaps due to lack of money, they didn't receive treatment. So what? What does this prove? The fact that they saved me can never be covered up. As for you, you're the one to blame. Shifting blame one after another. Aren't you just trying to ease your conscience? No, you don't have a conscience at all, I sneered, imitating his tone. Also, there was never any forcing. I took the initiative from the beginning. I was the one who begged UCI to have sex with me, sticking my ass out. Shut up, have you no shame? He roared and interrupted me, his eyes bloodshot and red. You're bewitched. His palm was raised high and came straight down with a gust of wind, but it didn't land on my face. UCI grabbed my father's wrist and said calmly, let me talk to Chandai alone for a few words. As bold as I was in front of my father, I was that flustered at this moment, I didn't dare to listen. No, I tightly grasped the hem of his clothes. Let's go home first. Can we go home? UCI pried my fingers off one by one, his expression calm as he clicked on his phone. There was the sound of a transfer notification. My whole body trembled uncontrollably, and my vision went dark in waves. Don't say. UCI looked up at me and smiled for the first time in these days. His eyelashes were wet, but there was a sense of relief in his eyes that made me despair. Chandai, let's call it quits. Never see each other again. You're free. 13. UCI disappeared. Once again, everyone came to congratulate me, saying that I had finally gotten rid of that ungrateful wretch who took advantage of his kindness. Terrible. If such a person develops further, he'll definitely be violent at home. I wanted to say something when he disrupted the blind date, but my family's assets were in his hands, and I was afraid of being retaliated against by him. He's probably already been violent at home. I met Chandai at several banquets, and his wrists were red, as if they had been tied. That's probably why he often wears high-collared clothes. So, we shouldn't have let such a low-class person rise in the first place. It would have been better to send him away with some money. The Chin family is still too soft-hearted. Phew. Fortunately, he's completely out. Although he's quite capable, I really wouldn't feel at ease entrusting the family business to him. We owe this to young Master Sue." Amid the buzzing and chaotic voices like flies, I heard the name of my childhood friend. I looked up and stared straight at him. He dodged my gaze for a moment, then said nonchalantly, "Hey, I didn't know before. If I had known that Shaddai was living like this, I would have intervened earlier." I coldly twitched the corner of my mouth. "What kind of intervention do I need from you?" He was stunned for a moment. Just as he was about to speak, I interrupted him. "And you all? What's going on between me and you? CI has nothing to do with you, right?" Everyone looked at each other, and their tone took on a bit of resentment. "Aren't we doing this for your own good? We've been friends since childhood. We can't just watch you be pooed by someone like him for a lifetime, can we?" "Someone like him?" I leaned back and stared at the drip of the 4 bottle, sneering. "Isn't it jealousy? The person who came out of nowhere easily stepped on those who received elite education since childhood. You must have been scolded a lot usually, right?" The resentment immediately escalated into accusations of being ungrateful. I just felt it was noisy. Why did everyone think I was being forced? My indulgence had always been my own willing choice. The question I couldn't figure out over a cigarette at that time had long been understood in the long years that followed. The reason for my indulgence was simple. Because I loved him, I loved you, CI, so I was willing. But I was never a person good at expressing myself. Things that I couldn't even figure out myself probably couldn't be conveyed well to the other party either. In this life, I had tried my best to make my love tangible, but still, it backfired. But at least, he was still alive. I clenched my palm. The indwelling needle on the back of my hand pricked the blood vessel, and it hurt a bit. I got sick because of him. He had to be responsible for me. 14. UC's perspective. I've always been unable to tell what feelings Chandai has for me. He said he loved me, but when I actually pinned him down, he secretly buried his face in the pillow and cried. He said he hated me. After that, he blushed and consciously picked up the shackles to make it easier for me to come and go. Our relationship started with his words, "Please hold me," and ended with the freedom I gave him. 10 years of entanglement was enough. He probably didn't even notice that he would occasionally show a faint sense of tiredness. He would quickly hide it again and continue to curse while catering to me. He was clearly already tired but was still struggling to hold on. I didn't understand what made him persist. When I accidentally discovered that he had someone renovate my parents' graves, I found the answer. It was guilt, even though I had deliberately avoided it over the years and didn't even let him see the scar. But the fact that my parents died in revenge and the knife wound I got while standing in front of him still became a gap in his heart that he could never cross. After a long stalemate, when I saw him secretly going on a blind date, I felt relieved. He had finally figured it out, but I had to keep up the act, playing a paranoid and crazy debt collector who pestered him like a ghost. When Chandai was carried home by me, he was really shaking with anger and said he never wanted to see me again without thinking. I still retorted viciously, but my heart was so sour that it swelled. "So good, you're leaving." But in the blink of an eye, when I lowered my head to fasten a chain, he changed. He looked at me in a condescending and provocative way, but his eyes betrayed him. They were shaking like a wet butterfly. Something was different. He no longer catered me meekly but hugged me tightly and responded extremely passionately, so passionately that I lost all my senses. When I felt him touching the scar on my back, I didn't even have time to stop him. I just wanted to nail him to the bed. I liked the reward and evaluation mechanism he proposed. It gave me hope for our relationship. I could keep track of all his movements. I knew he had customized a ring and was preparing to propose. He wanted to spend his life with me. On one hand, I pretended not to know and cooperated. On the other hand, I had some secret expectations. Until that alumni reunion, he felt indebted to me. He wanted to make up for me for a lifetime. I should have known earlier. What was I hoping? Did I really expect him to love me? He was already very tired. Many, many times in his nightmares, he would grab me and unconsciously shed tears and whimper, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry," over and over again. He had nothing to be sorry for me. I couldn't bind him with guilt and shame. I went to a small town and became an ordinary trader in a securities company. Life was as plain as water. This was the kind of life I should have lived. The mistake that started at the age of 18 had finally ended, and my life was back on track. But one night, I had a very strange dream. Everyone says you can't see your own face in a dream, but in that dream, I clearly saw it. It was a complete mess. He didn't speak, but the voice came to my ears from all directions. "You know, after becoming a ghost, you can't protect him anymore. You can only watch helplessly as he falls into a pool of blood and can do nothing. He has never loved anyone else, he only loves you. That bright red was too dazzling, I didn't dare not to believe it. I deliberately released a little news. The next day after work, I saw Chandai in my small rental room. He was leaning against my bedside, with a cigarette burning between his fingertips. "I'm sick," he said. He looked quite healthy, but I was still a bit nervous and walked over to pinch his arm. "What's wrong?" The next second, I was pressed onto the bed. There was a cold touch on my wrist. It was a thin gold chain, and the other end was cuffed to the bedside. He leaned down, and the hot cigarette ash fell beside my ear. "You see, a cold and hard ring was forcefully put on my ring finger, fitting perfectly. It wasn't the 2 million yuan one. This one was very simple, a Mobius strip, the same as the one he was wearing. "You can't escape. I want you to stay by my side forever."